So you can go ahead and read that right now. Okay. Before we even get
This not on the broadcast?
No, it's not on the broadcast, but I'm going to probably go over it again. I just wanted to read it.
You said 30, right?
1440. 1 Corinthians 14.
Oh, okay. Man. But let all things be done in proper and orderly way.
Yeah. So so I wanted to read that scripture, so I have an orderly way in which I go. So we'll probably first start out with prayer. And then after we start out with prayer, then we'll go into a testimony, which I'll do. And then after that, we'll go into a quick introduction. And then I want to introduce myself. Because what's more important than us throwing scriptures around is building relationships.
Right.
If we don't build a relationship with each other where you get to know me and I get to know you, then it's going to be impossible to work together. Because that's what this is all about. We have to work together. We have to organize ourselves together. And when we come together on the Sabbath, that's kind of like getting our program straight. But the most important part of what we're doing is going to be the other 6 days.
Yep.
And we're commanded to work, right?
Yep.
And if we're able to organize ourselves around working in concert and working together, then we can achieve things. And so anyway. You let me know when we're ready.
We're ready.
Okay, cool. You're all
right
now?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So first of all, I want to go ahead and turn this music off. First, I just want to say thank you, Shanti, and for those people who have allowed me to have this space today. I never feel qualified to be a teacher. Even though I be having a lot to say. I got him. But I look at myself more as an organizer. Because, by trade, I'm a computer IT person. That's kind of my vocation. And so everybody's familiar with the computer. Right? Or maybe not. Most people, if you ask people what a computer is, they just see a box, right?
Yeah.
And so I know how to take them apart, put them back together, program them, put an operating system. I know how to do anything with a computer, right? And so for me, studying the Bible is akin to putting together a computer. And so depending on your knowledge, right? If I took a computer apart, and let's talk about some of the pieces of a computer, such as, you got the hard drive, where you store your information. You got the CPU, which does the processing to figure out what's going on. You got the power supply. You can't turn the computer on without the power supply. And then, of course, you have memory, because there's things that have to go on. Right? And while those things are going on, the memory stores the instructions that then say to the hard drive, get this information from here, and then process it and then turn it into something. But that's only what's going on inside the computer.
Right.
In order for you to know what's happening, you have to hook other things to it. They're called peripherals.
Right.
Right? You got to hook a keyboard so that you can, input information into the computer. And then once you input that information, you have to be able to see it.
Correct.
Which is, your monitor and what have you. And then, of course, you use a mice and those types of things. So if I took a computer and took all the pieces and just threw it on the table and said, okay, here's a computer, you'd look at it and you'd say, yeah, it is. But would you be able to use it?
Good question.
Absolutely not. Unless you had the information, right, about how all the pieces go together.
Right.
You could then start to reassemble the computer, put it together, and then finally you hit the power button, it comes on, and then it's working, right? Well, the way that we look at the Bible, it's in pieces, right?
Yep.
It's no different than that. And we're not able to use it in the way that it's supposed to be used in order for it to express and to give us the power behind the scriptures. And so as an organizer, then I feel like it's my job to organize things. See? And so when you start to talk about um, salvation and some of these concepts that many people have experienced through Christianity. You know, everybody, you know, when you talk about that, you're not going to pretty much run into too many people that are saying, this is, you know, what I've learned. It's gonna come through your mind through Christianity first.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we have to do is we have to cleanse ourselves.
Right.
Right? You know, we have to cleanse ourselves of all of these concepts that we got in Christianity. And then we have to then bring them back together so that they form an operating system. So the Bible's like an operating system, right?
I like this analogy.
You're right.
You're right.
I like that.
I'm a computer person.
Right. So you still got a computer, you got all these things, you hit the power button, what is this going to say? There's no hard drive, or there's no operating system. You can have all the pieces together, and without the operating system, the computer still won't run. So then you have to put the operating system in. And once you put the operating system in, that then tells the CPU how to recognize itself, how to recognize all of the other pieces, and how to use those pieces as an organized whole. And so that's where we're going to go today. But first, I want to start out with prayer. But before I do that, let's go to 1 Kings chapter 8, verses 47 and 48. 1 Kings chapter 8, verses 47 and 48. Yeah.
And it reads, Then if they come to their senses in the land where they have been carried away captive, turn back and make their plea to you in the land of those who carried them off captive, saying, We sinned, we acted wrongly, we behaved wickedly. If in the land of their enemies who carried them off captive, they return to you with all their heart and being, and pray to you toward their own land, which you have gave to their ancestors, toward the city you chose, and toward the house I have built for your name.
Okay. So, when we pray, we turn to the east, right?
Yep.
Because that's where we came from, right? And even in captivity, we can still be saved. So that's the first thing I want to kind of dispel that myth, because there's a lot of people that are saying, or a lot of doctrines out there that say, you can't be saved, we're in the land of the enemies, we're not supposed to do anything, we can't farm, we can't own land, we can't do anything. We just, our job
We just gotta sit here and suck.
Yeah, let's just
Like,
sit
what are
here
you
and
doing
kind of
now,
just look
then?
around and hopefully somebody will drop something out of the sky, maybe we can catch it. You know, like the gods must be crazy, right? Hit in the head with a bottle or something. And then maybe we can go from there. Okay? The next scripture is Matthew chapter 6, verses 7 through 13. Matthew chapter 6, verses 7 through 13. And this is first why we turn to the east, and then which prayer we pray and why. I like to just lay a foundation of why these things are done. Go ahead, brother.
And it reads, And when you pray, don't babble on like the pagans who think God will hear them better if they talk a lot. Don't be like them, because your Father knows what you need before you ask Him. You therefore pray like this: Our Father in heaven, may your name be kept holy. May your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us the food we need today. Forgive us of what we have done wrong, as we too have forgiven those who have wronged us. And do not lead us into the hard testing, but keep us safe from the evil one. For kinship, power, and glory are yours forever. Amen.
Right.
And
So that's the
from
prayer. So
complete
with that,
judgment.
So with that, we're gonna pray. We do it in Hebrew. So we'll pray. All right. Let's turn to the east. If you don't know it, it's fine. Turn to the east, which is this way over here.
You gonna pray the Lord's Prayer?
Yep. I'm gonna do it. Do you know it?
I'll follow along. There's two versions.
Sure. All right. So, Avenu, Shabbat Shemayim, Yikardesh Semeakar, Tavo Malkateakar, Yiaze Razonka, Kibbutz Shemayim Kain Ba'aretz, Elechem Kukenu, Tain Lanu Hayom, Ushlak Lanu, Al Katienu, Kimoshisol King, Gamanaknu, Lakotiem Lanu, Bayal Tefienu, Ladani Sayon, Kim Kalsenu, Minhara, Kilaka, Hamamlaha, Beha Gibera, Beati Feretz, Leolamain, Ola means Selah. You may be seated.
Yep.
All right, so we start with prayer. Go ahead and turn to Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 17. I'd like to testify to you today that Yahweh is the God of all gods.
Crazy. Say that again.
Which one? Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 17?
Mm-hmm.
Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 17.
Okay.
Amen. And I'm reading out of the complete Jewish Bible.
Thank you.
For Adonai your God is God and gods of the and Lords, the great, mighty, and awesome God, who has no favors and accepts no bribes.
Mm-hmm.
He secures justice for the orphan and the widow. He loves the foreigner, giving him food and clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore you are to love the foreigner, since you were foreigners in the land of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
You are to fear.
That's 10:17. Deuteronomy
I went
chapter
past
10.
17.
Oh, okay, no problem.
17 was for Adonai your God is God of gods and Lord of lords,
Right.
the great, mighty, and awesome God, who has no favor and accepts no bribes.
Okay, so there's one God. That's it.
One God.
Right. We got to make sure we set that. Also, turn to 1 Chronicles chapter 28, verse 4. All the so-called blacks of America are Hebrew Israelites by nationality, and we're the sons and daughters of Yahweh, the true nation of Yisrael, and the tribe of Judah chosen to be the chief ruler. 1 Chronicles 28, 4.
And it reads, However, Adonai, the God of Israel, chose me out of my father's whole family to be the king over Israel forever.
Mm-hmm.
For he chose Yehudah to be the leader, and in the house of Yehudah, in the house of my father, and among the sons of my father, it was his pleasure to make me king over all Israel and all my sons. For Adonai has given me many sons. He has chosen Solomon, my son, to sit on the throne of the kingdom of Adonai over Israel.
All right. So, are there any people here that have any problem with being the ruler? Okay, I just want to make sure, because sometimes people
That's a big responsibility.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility. And if you do, then you're in the wrong place today. Okay. Also, is there anybody that has any problem with being wealthy?
I can handle that.
Okay. I just want to make sure, I just want to make sure I'm in the right place. Because when we start to talk about the scriptures, these are the results of keeping the scriptures. Rulership, first of ourselves, families, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and then our communities, and then, of course, wealth, spiritual and material. Okay. All right. Our language is Hebrew, our culture is Hebrew, and our history is Hebrew. So we're a family who has a common last name. And we have a land in North Africa, that a part of which is called Israel today. Go to Genesis chapter 15, verse 13. And I'm just laying the foundation because this is the first time that, we've been together. So I'm just,
beautiful.
I'm sure much of this, but I just have to lay it out.
Genesis 15 and 13. Adonai said to Abram, Know this for certain. Your descendants will be foreigners in the land that is not theirs. They will be slaves and held in oppression there for 400 years.
Right. So that means that we're looking for that mark on a group of people, right? And there's only one group of people that fit that mark. So if that means, so we know who that is, right? So if those people fit that mark, then there's other people that don't fit it, that say that they do. Let's turn to Revelation chapter 2:9. Revelation chapter 2:9. Revelation chapter 2:9. Ashanti, do you have the link of the YouTube? Judith, there's a link on YouTube that you can look at that this is broadcasting on live.
Oh,
How do
send it to me?
we
You got your phone, Regina? Can you send her the link to my page? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You got Judith.
I'm gonna let you do it.
Okay.
Because
I got you.
yeah,
Revelation
I got you,
chapter 2:9, go for it.
here YouTube's coming up.
Okay, it reads, I know how you are suffering and how poor you are, though
And
in fact
you
you
may
are
want to
rich.
speak up just a little bit because I don't. The sound's coming through here, Ashanti.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you may want to speak up just a little bit, just so that people can.
Okay, Revelation 2:9. I know how you are suffering and how poor you are, though in fact you are rich.
Right. So stop real quick. So the scripture starts out with, "I know how poor you are," meaning that we're struggling, right?
Mm.
Our people all. I've been to camps. I've been to visit Hebrews all over the United States, in my short period of time in this body. And the biggest thing that I see is poverty. You know, people, we have the knowledge. We love to talk about the knowledge, but actually the wealth and the power that goes along with it seems to escape us. It seems to be escaping us for some kind of way. Finish, please.
And I know the insult of those who call themselves Jews but aren't. On the contrary, they are a synagogue of the adversary.
So there's a group of people that call themselves Jews, but they're not. And they're a synagogue of the adversary. So I'm just laying this out so we can kind of put some lines in the sand of what we're talking about. The next thing that I want to do is I want to introduce myself, and just introduce kind of how I got to where I'm able to sit in front of you today. Because like I said before the camera's on, what's important is not just that we talk to each other and throw around scriptures, but we actually build relationships. Because it's important that we get to know each other, because the end goal is that we should be working together outside of just the Sabbath for 6 days. And we should learn how to work together, whether that means agriculture, whether that means business ownership, whether that means scriptural study, whether that means men getting together, whether that means women getting together, whether that means children getting together, because those are the bases of what a community is. And so we have to incorporate those things into everything that we do. So we understand that there's promises in the Bible, and I'm sure we're very familiar with them, whether it's Deuteronomy 28 or whether it's the law in general.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to become active participants in keeping them, so that we can then organize and pool our talents, so we can come into rulership. Let's turn to Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18.
And it reads, "No, you are to remember Adonai your God, because it is he who is giving you the power to get wealth, in order to confirm his covenant, which he swore to your ancestors, as in happening even today."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Continue.
Yeah. So the Most High is going to give us power to get wealth.
Right.
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 Not to practice religion,
Come on.
not to fight over the scriptures,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to, come up with all manner of things to do,
Mm-hmm.
but to get wealth,
Right.
right? So we can't divorce the Most High's desire for us to be able to be wealthy. But what does it say? To get wealth, so that what? What can you do once you get the wealth? In the same verse, right after the power to get wealth, so you can do what?
Yep.
His covenant. To
In
establish his
order to
covenant.
confirm his covenant.
Right. So
Yeah.
you can't keep the covenant if you're not wealthy.
Mm.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Example. We have our own calendar system. The only way that we're going to be able to keep the calendar system is being able to provide our own employment, our own job, so that we can do what? Keep it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're working for a 9-to-5 job, you get Martin Luther King birthday off, you get those holidays that they give you. But when you start talking about the ones that you need to keep,
Right.
they're like, well, unless you're working at a place where you get that type of vacation time. So they're not going to recognize that. So imagine working in a business, and I'll give you an example. I used to work for Adventist Health. You know, Adventist Health. It's the Seventh Day Adventists. They have their own hospital system.
Right.
And so I worked there for probably about 3-4 weeks some time ago, and it was like, you guys could leave early on Fridays because, of course, the Seventh Day Adventists, they keep the Sabbath.
Right.
So they allowed their people to do that, but we have to put ourselves in a position to where we can keep that. So we have to think about getting wealth, right? Okay. And the reason why we're not able to get wealth is because of Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. Let's go to Hosea chapter 4, verse 6.
Challenging me, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What is it?
600.
Yeah. Hosea chapter 4,
No,
verse
The one I
6.
don't know.
Yep.
too well.
It took me a minute too.
Hosea chapter 4, verse 6.
Oh, you know this verse.
That was one of the reasons why we was using the same Bible. So I can tell you what page I'm on.
Right.
It's all right.
Page 789.
By the time we're done with this, people are going to be able to just...
Brother Elder, Daryl, we gonna get there. We gonna get there.
Hosea 4:6.
Yes.
My people are destroyed for want of knowledge.
Yes, I
But
do
you
know this
rejected
verse.
knowledge. I will also reject you as a Cohen for me, because you forgot the Torah of your God. I will also forget your children.
What'd you say your YouTube channel was?
916 SHAN.
See that right there?
There
Yeah.
we go.
Mm-hmm.
Look at me. I'm all live. Look at this. Look at this.
That's right.
Look at this. I'm
Bless
live
you.
and direct.
I know you gave me.
We like this so we could go back and,
Yeah. All right.
over some. Yeah.
So lack of knowledge is why we're destroyed. So the lack of knowledge of how to get wealth. Now, we're not talking about wealth in the capitalistic perspective. We're talking about how to get wealth as it relates to the children of Israel. Let's go to Acts chapter 2, verse 44 through 47. Acts chapter 2, verse 44 through 47. I'm going to move this out of the way. You got me on YouTube. You gotta tell me how I'm looking over here.
That's the live feed. You're chatting.
Acts 2.
Yeah, no. I
Acts
looked
2,
and I thought
44,
somebody had a
47.
question. That's why I was.
Well, look at it. Let me see.
And that's why I was trying to figure out how to pull up the comment. I can't figure out how to do it.
Acts 2:44.
Acts 2:44 through 47. Acts 2:44 through 47.
Yeah. All those trusting in Yeshua stayed together and had everything in common.
So they trusted Yeshua, and then they did what? They had all things in common. Right. Okay.
In fact, they sold their property and possessions and distributed the proceeds to all who were in need.
So they sold their property and possessions and then distributed that to all that were in need. Okay. Next.
Continually faithfully and with singleness of purpose to meet in the temple courts daily, and breaking bread in their several homes, they shared their food in joy and simplicity of heart, praising God and having the respect of all the people. And day after day, the Lord kept adding to them who were being saved.
Right. So that's our economic system, which is in stark and complete contrast to the one that we live in now.
Yep.
Because the system that we live in now is, I got mine, you get yours, and they need to get theirs. So this is the difference between Egypt, right? The place where we had to leave, the economic system, and then the difference between the system that we need to be practicing. This is what is going to cause us to get the power to get wealth when we start to work together. Okay? Now, so we've been brainwashed. So let's go to John chapter 8, verse 32. St. John chapter 8, verse 32. And at some point in the future, we'll be getting to the point to where we'll be just calling these out by memory.
Man.
I'm sorry, repeat that, John what?
John chapter 8, verse 32.
8:32. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it reads, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free.
Right.
I know that
So,
one too.
and ye shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free.
Make you free.
Make you free. Right? So, if the truth is what makes you free, then if you don't know the truth, then what does that make you?
You ain't free. You still.
It's a slave.
Yeah,
It makes
you're
you a
still
slave.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the reason why we have to continue to go enslave with our enemies is because we don't know the truth.
Good grief.
And the truth of Acts chapter 2, verse 44 through 47, which is our economical system. That is what's going to do it. Okay? Now, in order to change the conditions that we have, it's going to require wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that's directly from the Most High, having knowledge of the law, but then taking it a step further and actually practicing it.
Hallelujah.
Yep. Application.
Understanding that all of the affliction that we're suffering, because no matter how good it gets for us, becoming wealthy, we're always going to be under oppression when we're in somebody else's land, right?
Yeah.
There's no way out of that aspect of understanding. But while we're under this oppression, we still have to keep the rules that we've been given. And those rules are more than just religious. The Bible is not just a book of religion. The Bible is a book of law. It's a law book. So in keeping those laws that we've been commanded, then there's certain things that will happen. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28, and we're just going to read through it a little bit. And so I'm going to stop you in some places, Brother Darrell, as we get through it.
Start at 1.
Yes, sir.
Verse 1. If you listen closely to what Adonai your God says, observing and obeying all his mitzvah, which I am giving you today, Adonai your God will raise you high above all the nations on earth, and all the following blessings will be yours in abundance, if you will do what Adonai your God says.
Stop. So it's about to lay out blessings, right? For keeping the law. Go ahead.
A blessing on you in the city, and a blessing on you in the countryside.
Stop. So you're going to be blessed in the city, and you'll be blessed in the countryside. Okay, next.
A blessing of the fruit of your body, the fruit of your land, and the fruit of your livestock.
Stop. So fruit of your body, which means your children, and then the fruit of what? Your land. So we're talking about an agrarian people, right? People that were growing their own food. They were also raising their own animals, right? So these are things that are very important to understand, because this is part of the culture in which the blessings that we're talking about take place. Go ahead again.
Verse 5. A blessing on your grain basket and kneading bowl. A blessing on when you go out, and a blessing on when you come in.
Keep going.
Adonai will cause your enemies attacking you to be defeated before you. They will advance on you on one way and flee before you 7 ways.
So stop. So if you look at the way that the scripture says, it lays out a way of being independent and self-sufficient based on what? Children, land, animals, and then a store in which you're then able to sell those things, right? And then on top of that, you then will be in a position to what? Defend yourself from your enemies. And this is the common theme that you will find, is that when the children of Israel are blessed, they're in their own land, they're producing their own food, products, animal husbandry, and they're strong. Because people that do those things are strong, and they have what? Power. And when you find that we break the law, we become weak. Because you notice we stop doing these things. And then we become weak, and then what happens? Our enemies are able to overtake us.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, when we talk about the kingdom of heaven, this is what the material aspect of the kingdom of heaven is. Right? Because the kingdom of heaven is material and spiritual.
That's right.
Just like when creation it was, in the beginning, the heavens and the earth.
Right.
Right? So our spiritual wealth will translate into material blessings.
Right. Correct.
In that
And
order.
go ahead.
In that order.
In that order.
Yeah,
In that order.
yeah, right.
Absolutely. And when you start to look into what money is in the Bible, it's gold and silver.
Come on.
It's not paper money.
The fiat.
It's gold, silver, and things that are worth something, such as animals. Such as land, such as your family, the people around you.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the things that encompass wealth from a biblical perspective. Also being aligned with the Most High and keeping the law, too, as well.
Hallelujah.
The spiritual parts.
Of course.
All right?
Yeah.
So anyways, I just wanted to start with that because I'm going to recap a little bit. But I want to first, I'm introducing myself to those people that are on the call. My name is Chanowk Yisrael, and I'm a husband.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Anybody knows what a husband is?
Husband is someone who's married and has a wife.
Right? That's true. But
He's also a head.
somebody look up. I've already got it looked up here. Look up. Read a couple of definitions of the word husband.
All right, husband. Let's see. Let's start from here. House. A farmer or cultivator.
Right. So a husband is a farmer or a cultivator.
Beautiful.
That's right from out of the dictionary, and that's the Webster's 1828 dictionary. That's what a husband is.
That's almost like one of the original dictionaries.
Yes.
Well, that
keep
makes
going.
sense.
Absolutely.
Or an inhabitant. To inhabit or till means work the ground.
Right.
Contracted from bougie. Let's see. Let's go here. To build.
Right. So, not only do you till, but you also build.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that you can take something, like, for example, you can see something, like you can take a flat piece of land, and then you can imagine what should be there.
Right.
And then you can actually go about organizing the people, the materials, and all the things that you need in order to be able to build something. Right? Keep going.
To plow or cultivate. A builder, a countryman, a clown, a rustic, a boor. The last component part of neighbor. Band or bond in this word is the participle.
Sure.
Occupying. Participle is like more so words that have ing
Absolutely.
on the end, right? Occupying. That means you're continuously doing something, right?
Right. Continuously doing these things. Yes.
Tilling.
Right.
And husband is the farmer or inhabitant of the house. In Scottish, a farmer. Thence the sense of husbandry.
Right.
It had no relation primarily to marriage. Let me read that again.
Come on.
Can I read that again?
Why don't you read it again?
It had no relation primarily to marriage. And this is why it's good to look up things in their original sense and see how these definitions of words evolve.
Right. That's called etymology.
Etymology.
Yeah.
Etymology.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
Oh boy, that's good for the scriptures.
Right. And so for those people and for those people that are watching on the YouTube channel, etymology is so important because we're dealing with concepts that are thousands of years old. And if we just only read it from our perspective, then we take our 2018 minds and then we impose the understanding of it onto the scriptures. Instead of actually taking it back to Hebrew, whatever, Aramaic, Greek, going back into very old dictionaries where we find those things keyed in alignment to the scriptures, and then we allow that to speak to us.
Yep.
Instead of us imposing back down on it. Keep
Hallelujah.
going.
But among the common people, a woman calls her consort my man, and the man calls his wife my woman, as in Hebrew. And in this instance, the farmer or occupier of the house or the builder was called my farmer, or by some other means, husband, came to denote the consort of the female head of the family. A man contracted or joined to a woman by marriage. This is the other definition.
The other definition.
A man to whom a woman is betrothed. Promise, like engaged, right?
Yes.
As well as one actually united by marriage is called a husband. And it gives some scriptural references. What's that? Deuteronomy 19, Deuteronomy 22.
Okay.
All right.
So hold on for just 1 second. So with that being said, so first of all, when you start to talk about the land, then you'll understand that you have to establish a relationship with it. As a farmer, you have to establish a relationship with it, because you're going to be on that land for years and years and years. And so you've got to get to know it very intimately. Like when we go on a tour after we leave here and go to the farm and go to the tour, I can probably walk around that place blindfolded,
Yeah.
eyes closed, blindfolded, and point and say, this is over here, this is over here. Usually on a regular day, I do about between 2.5 and 6 miles of walking over there in one place.
Right.
You know, I actually
Yeah,
grabbed one of those apps where it can show you where all your steps are in a place. And I was like, man, I've been walking up and down and back and forth. Okay. And this is very important to understand, because in relationship to being a husband, this is how you must get to know your wife. Right? So there's a lot of, synchronicity between a farmer and his land and a husband and his wife. Right?
I'm not just saying Mother Earth. Hello.
I was just thinking that too.
Right. Absolutely. Go ahead. Speak up. So for the people.
The spirit with the earth, in Genesis 1,
Yes.
says, let us make man in our image. Well, there's one meaning where people say, okay, that's Yeshua incorporated in that.
Yes.
And then, when you look at it in another sense in the Hebrew text, you could look at it, us, as the spirit and the earth.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So,
I think about when in the New Covenant or the Brit Hadashah, we talked about Yeshua was the good husband, and in that passage he was talking about my sheep know my voice. So
Right.
it was talking about his level of intimacy.
Right.
But in some of those definitions, it crossed over to what a father is.
absolutely.
Because I heard, because it's like, well, the father is author, finisher, cultivator.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we
Nourish
can take and put this so that we can try to see everybody? Because I mean, I know you have it all on me, but I don't want to make this where I'm the only one talking. Yeah. And I don't mind if people just want to look at me.
Let's see.
I don't mind that, but we all contribute in here.
Let's see.
Like I said, I'm an organizer more so than just like a teacher.
Can we
And
put
I
it
think
up here?
everybody's got something.
If you back that up,
Do you want to back?
You could put it on
We
top
back
of
this
the
up?
Xbox.
Yep.
Or up
Or
there.
right here.
Up here if you want to.
Yeah,
And
let's
then
see.
we can do it this way.
And tilt it.
Mm-hmm.
Here, let me just do this like this.
And then, we just put it up here and then do it like that. So we can get to see everybody.
Let's see.
Yeah.
It's probably got to be backed up just a little bit more.
Here, let's back it up some
Yeah,
more.
let's back it up.
For everybody in live land, we're just doing some little, or do you want to
Yeah,
back
it's
this whole
probably
thing up?
yes. It's like back it up to right here. And that way it'll get everybody. Yeah. Is it locked?
There we go.
Uh-huh.
There we go.
Yeah.
Tell me when.
Let's see. Oh, this is beautiful right here.
That's beautiful right there.
So now we just have to speak louder.
Let's see. Let's tilt it down some.
That's all right. There we go. There we go. We're going to get everybody on today.
So you can see when questions pop up. So
Right.
over there too. Good.
Yes, Denise. It's very powerful. So we got a couple of people on. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Everybody.
Everybody got to speak up.
Yeah, everybody's got to speak up a little bit. So also, can you just, for the people that are watching on live, where are you from? Where are you from? Sacramento, Yolo County, where everybody? This is going to be different. We got everybody here. Everybody's represented. Everybody's got something to say.
Right.
So we have everybody on. So this is more like a conversation. We're just sitting down having a conversation and talking about the scriptures. I may have a little bit of an outline, but I'm sure we might deviate from it and go a different way. How we doing, Shanti? We good?
We're doing good. I'm gonna just plug in the extra battery here,
Okay.
and then I'll put it back.
So again, when we're talking about the husband and the father,
Yes.
what word do you use to distinguish the difference between the two?
Between a husband and a father? Well, father in Hebrew is Ab, right? Abba. Whereas, husbandman, farmer. We got a concordance right over there. If you want to grab it.
I would just like to say, I just want to hear your.
Well, I haven't really. I have to look it up and come up with it. I don't have a specific, thing that I've kind of been, using in my regular day to day to understand that. I'd have to pull it out and study it just like everybody else. So if we want to take it in that direction, we can. But also just introducing myself still is that also I don't believe in heaven after I die. I don't believe in heaven after I die, nor do I believe in the idea that we're waiting for the Most High to come save us. I'm not waiting for anybody to come save us. We have everything that we need
To take care of ourselves.
to take care of ourselves. Once we can move from just being religion only. There's politics in the Bible. There's economics in the Bible. It tells you how to be social, how to, as a man, be in your household, as a woman, to be in your household, and how to take care of your children, the social aspects. And then it also gives into the spiritual aspects too as well. Let's go to Romans chapter 1, verse 20. Let's go to Romans chapter 1, verse 20. Nor do I think that you can only be saved by just reading just the Bible and just studying the Bible only. Because the Bible points you to study other things.
Correct.
Yeah.
I agree.
Romans chapter 1, verse 20. Read.
And it reads, "For ever since the creation of the universe is invisible, his invisible qualities, both his eternal power and his divine nature, have been clearly seen, because they can be understood from what he has made."
Stop. So, what does it say? It says the invisible things of the Most High can be understood how?
Through us. Through things you can see, the things he's created.
The things he's created. Us, the natural world that we see around us, as we see orderly operation. Like, for example, if you have a fruit tree, and I can set my clock yearly for the time when the leaves of the trees are going to come out after winter. And every single year, right on time, within 2 to 3 days, every single year. So there's an orderly operation that's going on. And the more that we learn about this orderly operation and key into it, then the more powerful that we become. And I also believe that our salvation is being wealthy, spiritually and materially. Together. Not you giving me your money, right? And then I'm taking your money, and then you see me living and operating in a certain way, and then you can't.
Do you just talk about a preacher? I'm sorry.
There's people in Israel doing that. So it's not just
I'm sorry, that's a rabbi. They call themselves rabbis.
Whatever they
call themselves.
People call themselves anything.
To whom it may apply. That's
Right, to
true.
whom it may apply.
To whom it may apply.
It is funny because you go to work, and the reason why most people go to work is because they get paid. But then you turn around and go give your money to somebody who's not working.
Oh boy.
Right?
Oh boy, come on.
And then they take your money and live off of it, and then you worship them.
Dang.
Yeah. Something sounds so wrong with that.
Yeah, that makes you want to scratch your head a little bit. So the idea is that we'll take our money and we put it together so that we can build together, so that we can build, right, something. Okay? So I just wanted to let you know about me before we get started. Now let's turn to Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11.
Yes.
29, verse 11. Some people know that one, obviously. I think Brother B.A. did that one last, I think it was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Well, a lot of people can't recite it.
That's all right. We're going to get there, though.
They know it.
We're going to get there, though.
Do they apply it?
Absolutely.
This is the anthem.
Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11.
And it reads, "For I know what plans I have in mind for you," says Adonai. Plans for well-being, not for bad things, so that you can have hope and a future. When you call to me and pray to me, I will listen to you. When you seek me, you will find me, provided you seek me wholeheartedly.
Okay, so wholeheartedly. Not just being interested and not just memorizing scriptures, but seek wholeheartedly, meaning you're incorporating that which you learn and it becomes a part of your day-to-day life. Right? And when that happens, because it will create a certain type of character in you, and as you go out and interface with the world, because see, the scriptures are what we're supposed to be learning in secret amongst Israel, and then when we go out into the public, they're just gonna be like, dang, who are these people? Let's turn to Daniel chapter 1, verse 20.
Right.
Daniel chapter 1, verse 20. Daniel chapter 1, verse 20. Daniel chapter 1, verse 20.
And it reads, and in all matters requiring wisdom and understanding, whenever the king consulted them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and exorcists in his entire kingdom.
Right, so in captivity, Daniel was 10 times better than all of the people in the realm, right?
Right.
Due to his understanding of the Most High, right? So we'll have to spend less time trying to convert people and beat people up with scriptures.
Come on.
And the way that just we are
That's right.
in the sight of the nations is going to make them want to figure out what it is we're doing, what it is we know, what it is we learn, and they're going to come to us.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Correct.
By our walk.
By our walk, by our actions.
Yep.
It's not going to be that we have to stand and tell people this and force people out to be like, wait a minute, you guys peculiar. You peculiar.
Right,
You're
right.
different.
Right.
I got to figure out what's going on with you guys.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay? All right. Let's go to now, but you know, we have to understand that in the process of becoming that way, we have to be refined. So let's turn to Isaiah chapter 48, verse 10. Isaiah chapter 48, verse 10.
And it reads, look, I have refined you, but not as severely as silver. Rather, I have tested you in the furnace of affliction.
So, the furnace of affliction is going to refine us. and I've been in this body for 43 years, and I know that affliction will bring you back in line.
Yes, it will.
Right away.
Right away.
Oh,
You know. So, in addition to us becoming 10 times better, we're also going to have to go through a process of affliction. And if anybody knows anything about the process of smelting silver, right? When you find silver in the ground, it's in an impure form.
Yep.
So you have to melt it.
It has to be really, really hot.
It's got to be really, really hot.
Right.
That means you might have to go through a hot fire
come on.
Yep.
to
It's a
be
liquid
refined,
form.
right?
To get all the excess
To get all the
toxic junk,
impurities.
right,
Yep.
that we
Out of
came
you.
from, right? Yup.
And I'm sure that everybody has some type of affliction that they're going through presently
Yep.
in some way, shape, or form that is telling them that you need to get right. Right?
Right.
And everybody experiences on a day-to-day basis when you go to the grocery store. Because that if you're not buying organic, and if you are, then that means you got a lot of money, so we need to talk anyways. We need to, you know, I got a farm, you buying groceries, you buying organic, we need to talk anyways, right?
Hallelujah.
That's another conversation. But we know that the food is no good for us.
Man.
If you're eating meat, the Bible doesn't say don't eat meat, right? But if you have wisdom to go and pick up meat out of the grocery store knowing what's done to it,
Right.
that's not the wisest thing to do,
Right.
right?
Mm.
And, you know, just to let you guys know, this time next year, I'll have lamb.
Cool.
Nice.
So that's something to talk about too. So there's an affliction that's going to come. That's gonna purify us and get us to where we are. And just telling a little bit about my story, I changed my name in 1996. Changed my name legally to what it is now. And since then, I've been a few places out of the country. And most of the opposition that I've gotten in this walk from me identifying with the children of Israel and then seeking to live the culture of such and establish that as a way to, be successful. Most of the opposition has come from people that look just like me. I was in the airport one time coming back from Italy, and I'm there, and you have to give them your ID and stuff, and then they send you off and whatever you get on the plane. Guy looked at it, looked up at me, looked at it again, looked up at me, and he said, "Israel, you know that name? You know that's a very, very powerful name, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I did. I do know how powerful it is." He said, "You are Israel?" it was one of those types of moments, right? And so we had a little bit of an exchange and what have you. And I've had so many different types, and I'm saying this to say that going out of the country and dealing with different people, it's regular knowledge that they know what the children of Israel look like and what they should look like, and who they are.
Right.
And it seems like we're the main ones that don't want to accept that reality.
You mean the ones over here in America?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We don't want to accept that reality.
Man.
Because of fear. Because it's because of fear. And it's because of the fact that, when you go and try to establish or do something that's different from the norm, then you have this thing called family.
Come on.
Or friends. All these F words. I can think of a few choice other ones. But we'll start with those. Right? And because they've been raised in a certain way, then when you try to do something different, they will oppose you. They will oppose you. And many times it's because of jealousy.
Come on.
Because they see you about to go off and do something good, and they are still doing whatever they're doing, and they don't want to lose you. When I found that many of the people that accept who we are usually tend to be like the black sheep of their family. And when I say, I don't say that in a bad way,
right.
But a lot of times you're the person that the person in the family depends on. You're the main person, and somehow the Most High showed you that, and then they see, oh my God, we can't take advantage of this person anymore.
Come on.
We can't get this person to do stuff for us and not
Without
have to do anything in return,
questions.
not ask any questions anymore. And they see you start.
He talking about me.
I've been around. I've seen. I know,
He
even for myself.
This furnace of affliction.
Right.
Go ahead.
And they will try to get you. They'll call you crazy. I've had CPS called on me.
Dang.
You're malnourishing your children. You're teaching them the wrong stuff. Whatever. We didn't get the flu.
That's right.
We didn't get the shot. My children rarely get sick. Rarely ever get sick. I've got 9 of them. So, so it's just one of those things that, there's affliction that will come, but if you make it out to the other side, then you'll be coming out with great substance.
Hallelujah.
So I want to address the fear, because if we move forward, and as we move forward, there's going to be fears that are going to come as we start to talk about establishing business, about becoming wealthy, and not being afraid of that. I mean, because if you have a job, if there's anybody that's independently wealthy here, that's good. We need to talk. But at the same time, if you have a job, then the whole purpose of you having that job and them paying you is because you're making them wealthy. You're making somebody wealthy. And the thing is that if we have these people around the table here, and then we have people that are watching out there, why are we not making each other wealthy? or working with each other to make each other wealthy? Why does that seem like some kind of foreign concept that we can't seem to just work around? You know, you understand? There's people that got whole congregations of people, hundreds of people in a congregation, no businesses. There's people that have people that are hanging on their every word, waiting for them to tell them, you jump off this building, they already in the air. Right? They already in the air. Right? No businesses. No schools.
Come on.
For the children. Getting money every week. Tithes. Even though tithes was supposed to be what? Yeah. Not only that, and also tithes was supposed to be an agricultural product. Yeah. But getting tithes, money, coming in every week. No businesses. That's the business. The business is extracting the money. That is the business. But no idea to say, okay, well, if I'm extracting this money and I put a business together over here, then we can employ the people. And then we put a school over here, we can teach the children so the children don't grow up and get 16, 17, and then we're going to have to go what? Send them out to go be slaves? But we have the power and the information in the Most High, and then your children get 16, 17, you don't have no business for them? You don't have any type of school for them? You don't have some land for them? Nothing. But a religion. But you got a religion for them all day long. All day. All day. You can stand them up and throw the scriptures out and call people names and all this stuff. No business. No wealth. No wealth is being generated. No Acts 2:44 through 47 going on. No having all things in common. So, but in order to get there, there's going to be fear. Let's go to Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. Joshua chapter 1, verse 8.
I just want to add to that.
Yes, please.
We're talking about the furnace of fiction, the refining process.
Yes, sir.
So we know that those impurities rise to the surface.
Absolutely.
And you can see it because that's what you skim off the top. So a lot of times, if we understand the process, we can overcome the fear.
Yes.
Because I know that I'm gonna be exposed, right? And that's what I'm more afraid of, more so than the pain of the affliction. I'm more afraid of my exposure.
Right.
Who's gonna see me? What other people think?
Right. Right.
And so now the closest people to us, they see our impurities.
Right.
Because they're not willing to go through the refining process, and so we usually end up as an example. Even to one of the, like you said, the ones that look just like you, the ones that you get the most
absolutely
opposition from. Joshua 1:8.
Yes.
Yes, keep this book of the Torah on your lips and meditate on it day and night.
So stop. So meditation is okay, right? Okay, because I've had people say you ain't supposed to meditate. That's of the devil. All right, I've seen that too. So meditation is okay as long as you're meditating on the law, right? You need to sit and be able to sit still in a place and be able to meditate on that. Go ahead.
So that you will take care to act according to everything written in it.
Right.
Yes.
Then your undertakings will prosper, and you will succeed.
Yes.
Right. So, whose responsibility is it for us being successful? Ours. It's ours. It's our responsibility. That mean you mean that the Most High is not going to drop businesses out of the sky?
He's giving you what you need, the tools, the skills, the knowledge.
So you're telling wait a minute. So you're telling me if I just go to Sabbath every single week and I just memorize the whole entire law and I can just tell it just like this and just like that the Most High is not going to drop a business out of the sky for me?
No.
What about not gonna plant no crops for me?
Come on.
He's not gonna. Is he gonna plant crops for? Okay, wait a minute. Let's see what else. He's not gonna save me from my enemies. They just won't. You know, I won't have like a shield around me, like a magical shield or something, and they'll see the shield and they'll know just to. He's got a shield around him. Don't touch him.
Rainbows and unicorns.
That's not what's gonna happen, Shanti. No. So it's our responsibility to take the knowledge into our heads, and then in taking that knowledge and having that mindset, then it's going to cause us to do certain things, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to continue to keep talking about agriculture. Why? Because that is the thing that we were required to do.
Yeah, you can see all day Israel was an agricultural people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm going to always come back to agriculture. Okay. Whew.
This is beautiful.
I like how you said you stress that word responsibility, because a lot of people would tend to think, well, who's going to do it for you? Who's got to do it? No, but even though he gives you the power to get wealth, it's still your responsibility to take a part, to be a part of that power,
right?
And go ahead and fulfill the covenant.
Active participant.
Yes.
Active participant.
Where's that verse that says, it's not in the sky that you have to go and get it. It's not down below so you can go get it. It's nigh thee in thy mouth. So you're already equipped.
Yes.
With it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's what I wanted to bring out. But it says, and you shall have good success. I know you were using the complete Jewish. I was just I have the King James, so it's just a little bit different. It says, then thou shalt have good success, and thou shalt make thy way prosperous. That's what it says in King James. So it just gives you a little bit of the context. But in the process of all this, we have enemies.
Come on.
You know, it's not just going to be a walk in the park where, you know the law, great. Let's just give them back everything they have. You know, we made a mistake. We're going to have enemies. Right?
Right.
We have them. Let's go to Psalms chapter 83, verses 1 through 5.
Oh.
Psalms chapter 83, verses 1 through 5.
Well, again, too, some of the teachings have been, I would misuse the scriptures that I'm going to inherit this land. Someone's just going to leave me a field full of everything, already ready to go.
Yeah, that's just not the way that it works.
Because that was a promise, right? A promise, the land I gave your father.
So Shanti, this is what it looks like on the lesson right now.
Why is this circle?
Are you hooked up to the?
No, not the Wi-Fi. You want me to hook up to the Wi-Fi?
You can hook up to the Wi-Fi. There's a code right up there if you want.
Okay.
Oh, people can still see?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure because I was looking at it here and it looked like it was a little bit off. So okay, good. Psalm chapter 83 verses 1 through 5. Psalm chapter 83 verse 1 through 5.
It seems good.
Okay, good. It's good.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you raising your hand for a question?
No, I was just trying to see myself.
I'm here.
I was trying to make sure I wasn't seeing like
Psalm chapter 83 verses 1 through 5.
And it reads, God, don't remain silent. Don't stay quiet, God, or still. Because here are your enemies causing an uproar. Those who hate you are raising their heads, craftily conspiring against your people, consulting together against those you treasure.
Right. So we have enemies that sat down and conspired against us, and they are conspiring.
Correct.
You know, one thing.
Stop.
Go ahead.
They never stop.
They never stop.
Right.
And the reason why that is because, you know, and when you start to really let the Bible bring you back into nature, when you start studying nature, you'll find that, you know, nature is a little bit different than the way we operate. You know, yeah. You've got animals, and all of these different types of animals are all doing one thing, and that's surviving. Now, as you start getting into the mammals, especially things like lions and things of that nature, they're having children, hunting, establishing territory for themselves and their families, and they protect that territory with their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because in protecting that territory, that gives them the ability to continue their species and to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, I read somewhere that Judah was a lion's whelp.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody remember that scripture?
Remember that.
Judah is a lion's whelp. So if we're a simile, right? A simile, or a simile or poetry, where you have one thing under the guise of something else, then why are we not operating like lions do? If we're a lion's whelp.
Are you referring to them as predator?
Well, I would say yes. I mean, because that's a word we made up to describe what they're doing. But they eat. Right?
I mean, they gotta eat.
And
survive.
yeah, they eat to
the same
survive.
animals.
And we eating the same animals. So I mean, we already do that anyways. The only difference is we don't even catch the animals. We ain't even we let somebody else do it. And
I
then
say
we
that
just,
because the way when you brought Judah into it, I mean, they were referring to him like you said. Those are conspiring. Those are predators.
right.
They're not trying to raise so much great children. They're just trying to take wealth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Power.
Extracted. It's extracted right now. We right here, we can go walk around. I can show you all the extraction points they call corner stores. Those are extraction points. They extract wealth, and then they go and take and put their children in college.
Yeah.
And they pay for their college educations, and they do what? Get wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So people in the ghetto are not really poor. If they were poor, it wouldn't be no store.
That's right.
Right? If you don't put a store where poor people are. You put a store with people that got money so you can get it. So, that's just another misnomer. But anyways, so the reason why I wanted to go through that is to understand that we have enemies. What was the job of the enemies? Keep reading.
What were we
The end of verse 4, or the verse
Verse
4.
5.
Verse 4.
Verse 4?
Mm-hmm.
Craftily conspire against your people, consulting together against those you treasure. They say, come, let's wipe them out as a nation.
Right.
Let the name of Israel be remembered no more.
So, wipe them out as a nation so that the name of Israel will be no more. What does Israel mean? The name, what does it mean?
He who strives, contends, prevails, and rules with God, or Elohim.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in conspiring so first of all, if you had a last name that told you that you're supposed to conspire with, rule with God, right? Then there's a certain mindset that you have to have in order to kind of carry it.
Hallelujah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't have slave mentality. And somebody tell you, oh, well, you're supposed to be ruling like God does. Because you'll be like, I don't want none of that. Because then there's a responsibility, like you said, that comes along. And so they cut that off through the process of slavery by giving us a poor self-image. A poor self-image to where we look at these scriptures, but we don't see our rulership like I'm a ruler, like we can stand up and stick our chest out and be like, I'm the ruler here. That's the way that we're supposed to be. But we don't act that way as it relates to, our culture. And that's because of our enemies cutting us off. We have all these different ways that we're being attacked, whether it's through the electronic media, through whether it's through childless homes. We can talk about all the problems. I'm not even going to go into it because all you have to do is go to Martin Luther King Boulevard, Junior Boulevard, anywhere in the country. I've been to a few of them. After the fourth one, I was like, okay, this is a pattern. And you will find pretty much the same type of activities going on among people. Shanti? So, I probably should have did that ahead of time, but here's the key.
It's all good.
to the bathroom. So just for everybody, the bathroom is out this way.
To the right.
Yeah, to the right. Let me just show you where it is right quick.
All right. While Chanowk is doing that, pause for the cause, but so far so good. Everybody getting understanding,
That's
right? Right. And it's it's good to incorporate different styles of teaching, so that we can better understand the scripture. Chanowk here is good with the agriculture and the land, and helping us to incorporate these things to modern day times so we can understand them. I just appreciate it so far.
Oh, I
Thank you
appreciate
so
it
much.
too,
Yeah.
because I mean, not being so well versed, but understanding the application and,
Right.
and knowing that what the Most High is telling me to do, he's got me, and the deeper I get into that relationship, it's go back to the land,
Right.
go back to natural, go back to original, and this is
Right.
what he keeps repeating over to me.
Right.
No matter what I do and everything in life, it's what does it mean originally, and especially
Right.
with the words. And so I love when you went and did husband and
Yeah.
took it straight to one of the original dictionaries
Right.
that said what does it mean, because it gave you all of this before it even said anything about it was marriage. It was associated with marriage. It was to cultivate the land,
Right.
to be a farmer. You do you have that commonality of being paired with Mother Earth, and that was our original job, because even if you weren't married to your wife, you were still a husband because you were a farmer,
Right.
and that was your husbandry, was to the
Work this
land.
And
Right.
and even more so, I would say that every young man should learn agriculture before he gets married,
Yes.
because you can translate some of the experience right over.
No, that's very much needed, because we're doing a lot of working with the sisters. You find that men, when they get to be 25, 30, they're not marrying, and people don't understand why. They haven't been properly trained
On how
to
to take
be.
care. Yeah. To
Yeah.
take, even to take care.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
just take it back to the
Yeah.
basics. Not even to take care of a living thing. A living thing, because that's what you're doing when you're
Yeah.
practicing agriculture. If
Yeah.
you're doing animal husbandry, you're taking care of a living thing.
Yes.
That means that it's not all about you.
Come on.
You now have something else that you're responsible for making sure stays alive.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know.
And like you said, there's an intimacy
Yep.
involved with, over the course of years, I know how to do some things. Like before, man, my plant died. I didn't put snail pellet,
Right.
like, where'd my plant go?
Right.
Came the next day, it was gone, I thought it was the birds and it was a snail, So you start to learn
Yep.
how,
Responsibility.
certain things,
I
how
know
to
all
take
my
care of the
chickens.
roots.
Right.
I know all.
Yeah.
I could be anywhere on the farm, and I know who's laying. I can hear the sounds. I know who's about to do who. I know if somebody's fighting. Right? I know if somebody's fighting.
Them's your kids.
You tell those things. You become
Yes.
very intimate. I know who the head, lady is. I know who the mother hen is. You could tell by the way she operates, where she moves around, and she be pecking at folks and all that type of stuff. All those different things, and that's applicable.
And then again, how to preserve through all the different seasons.
Right.
Because like you said, you're establishing a lifestyle.
That's right.
Absolutely. So that has to do with cutting us off from a nation. So why do you think that they forced us in slavery to work the fields? Because now we have trauma connected to the activity that forms the foundation of our salvation. So now when you go to our people and you say, let's get into the land, whether they tell you or not, they just flash back slavery. They just saw roots
Yep.
in the head.
Yep.
They saw roots in Kunta Kinte.
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie, I was that way.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. You talk about agriculture, they're like Kunta Kinte and Toby, and they're like, oh, no, I don't want none of that.
Well, they even said
I'm going-
they didn't teach us that.
Yeah.
They were great farmers and hunters,
Exactly.
coal miners,
Right.
mining, diamond field. They didn't teach us that they already knew that stuff.
Right.
Why they
Well,
went and got it.
That's why they wouldn't got it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Let's go
Right.
get somebody who already knows how to do the work
Right.
and let them work for us so we get all of what they worked hard
Right.
for.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's what we do. We're like, I don't want none of that. I don't want none of that. That's what we did in slavery. Let me go run over to this job, though.
And then, like I said, too,
They don't see that as a form of slavery.
They really don't.
No.
And translated to now, the jobs that we go to every day, because we have to manage in what we've got right now.
Sure.
But the jobs that we go to every day right now, that's that land.
Mhm.
That's that farm.
Right.
That's just translated into 2018
Right.
for technology
Oh.
and paper money
Oh, yeah.
and books.
the system still teaches us how to remain ignorant, though, because, like I said, I can teach you how to pick cotton, but I'm not going to teach you how to make cloth.
We've
Right.
talked about
So
this
you
before.
make the
I was gonna
money,
say
then you
that.
go buy the cloth.
Right.
You were the one picking the cotton.
Right.
Or
Right.
make, pick sugar
Absolutely.
cane, but I'm not going to teach you how to make sugar. So you go to
Absolutely.
the market.
Right. So I'm gonna teach you how to consume.
So
you know?
they don't teach us how
I'm
to
going to teach you how to consume.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
That's-
teach you how to
that's good
But
produce.
then
there.
they're trying to be independent.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
it right there.
Shoot.
So yeah, part of the system is to keep us ignorant.
Mhm.
Right. Absolutely. So the next scripture. So we talked about being cut off, and then so let's go back over to Jeremiah chapter 30 verse 11. Jeremiah chapter 30 verse 11. Because even though we have enemies, and even though their job is to cut us off from being a nation, and then if we were to keep reading in Psalms 83, it'll tell you what nations do it,
Right.
and we know who those nations are.
Come on.
But we only have so much time, and I don't want to go forever here. I don't know how long you guys usually do when you guys have class, but
The last week we was in there for 2.5 hours
All
at
right.
least. We had to get some things out. You know what I mean?
It's good, it's
Sometimes.
good.
Yeah.
absolutely, that's good. That's good.
We still trying to be Sabbath. We're not trying to have other activities we're thinking about.
Yes,
Good
yes,
point.
Have to stay in that mind frame that it is a
Yes.
day of
yes.
rest and
Some 30, some 60, some 100.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is that, see, if we was practicing agriculture, we'd be resting on the Sabbath.
Man.
You
Oh,
you would be ready to rest after
Yeah.
6 days.
yeah, that's understandable and
You
making
would
sense.
rest. Go ahead, Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 11.
Verse 11. For I am with you to save you, says Adonai. I will finish off all the nations, for I have scattered you. However, I will not finish off.
Mm-hmm.
But will discipline only as you deserve. I will not completely destroy you.
So, all the places where we've been scattered are going to be destroyed.
Yep.
And we're going to be saved from that.
Mm-hmm.
But we also going to get punished too.
That's
Because
right.
we hard-headed and we don't listen. So, we just have to keep that in mind too. We
Mhm.
want to be on the right side of that.
Yeah.
When that time comes.
Mm-hmm.
American society, like I've been listening to some of the people from like the
Oh,
Senate,
louder.
they're already
Yeah.
they're already sort of like planning or expecting the dollar to fall, the economy to fall, and they're basically saying you keep taking this country into more debt and debt and debt, that basically the dollar we have is not going to be worth anything, and it's an economy collapse. So they're already expecting it.
Oh, absolutely. And if you want to learn exactly how it's going to happen, then go and take a look at the USSR. I remember when the USSR they fell, and people had wheelbarrows full of money and still couldn't buy a loaf of bread because of hyperinflation. Thank you, brother. So that's going to come one day. And the question is, if you woke up tomorrow and everything was dissolved except for your family and the place where you live, do you have the skills and the resources to be able to survive? At least 3 days. At least minimum 3 days. And if not, well then we need to start teaching some other information in these classes. I mean, we could talk about scriptures, but I could tell you what you need to have for 3 days. And so you can start to establish those things. It's not as hard as you may think it is, and you may not need as many things as you think you need, but you need to have 3 days worth of supplies. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just going to say right now, for anybody else who might be thinking it, I, for one, would like that to be something that we do discuss.
Okay.
Besides scripture, because it is a need.
Well, it is scripture.
Well, yeah,
That's
not,
not-
but
no,
but the
but I'm
technical,
saying-
you're talking about
Right.
the details, the how to.
Yes.
Not just you supposed to do it, but here's
Yes.
how you do it.
And
Right.
part of that application as
Right.
far as what we've heard about the scripture, the spiritual side, now understanding the application, because not everybody knows how to do that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I be one that's still learning. It hit me the other day where when we talk about being in slavery, what it looks like to really study,
Mm-hmm.
and why I had such a hard time in school,
Mm-hmm.
because they gave me just one or two books.
Or that forsaken image, you know.
But now it's like I spread out. I go here, there, and everywhere to get. That's why my spirit man and my natural earth man or my slave man fight to
Right.
sit down and read stuff,
Mm.
because what I know I'm reading is truth.
Right.
I fight it,
Right.
Mm.
but I still do it because I know that's what I need.
Right.
And if I know that I need it, there are others that need it too, because
Absolutely.
I'm learning to apply it.
Absolutely.
Right.
So that's something that, set up like this, yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
You know, like I said, we confuse being rich with having wealth,
Mm.
Right.
right? And they're
'Cause
not the
there's a
same
difference.
thing. 'Cause I can have money and be rich and don't know what to do with it.
Right.
Like we see all
Which
these
is
professional athletes, you know.
Right.
But
But yeah, they're
but
just.
if I have wealth and I lose all my money,
You can
the
get
Bible
that.
says I know how to get wealth.
Right.
You know, I always know how to get wealth.
Right. Always know how to sustain yourself.
But like I said, it's not always in money.
Mm-hmm.
It's about value. You know,
Right.
and then based on the society that you live in, what's valuable, you know, because in the society of Israel, what's valuable, what can you produce? What can you do?
Right.
You know, can you do some carpentry?
Mm-hmm.
Can you do some animal husbandry? Okay. Can you do security?
Mm-hmm.
You know, can we, if we need to raise a militia,
Mm-hmm.
can we count on somebody that can lead a couple of units?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right. Can we fish or can food or
fish,
like-
canned food, preserve it.
make soap? Like
Yeah, make soap.
I'm spoiled with soap, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are the
These
things that we
yes.
need to be able to do, and because the fact that it's happening, then that means that there's a structure.
right.
And so if we had 20 people working at maybe 4 or 5 hours a day, then you could probably make 30,000 bars of soap over a period of time. And then you go out and sell them, and then you now have a business.
Mm-hmm.
You could buy them
Mm-hmm.
at a cost,
Mm-hmm.
and then go sell them for more,
Uh-huh.
and then you have a business. And then that business is an outgrowth of one of your family members.
Right.
Yeah, just like when you see a Chinese restaurant,
Come on.
right?
Yep.
You're looking at a bank. You think it's a business, but it's a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And that bank finances their society.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you can't get a job there. You can't. You can want to go next time you go. I mean, hopefully you're not eating Chinese food first of all. But if you are, go and ask for application. Go on, get there. Go on, get the place and go and be like, oh, I was wondering if you guys are hiring. And they go,
Right.
We know hires.
yeah. They hire from within.
That's right.
And so then what happens is that, okay, the restaurant is where all the products go.
Mhm.
So then you go master soy sauce, right? And then you start to supply this restaurant with soy sauce. You go master this aspect. 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 And then we'll put the store together. And then that's where we'll sell the product, right? So then all these different families have businesses. And then they work together. And guess what? They all have a culture that governs their behavior. It's really just a code of conduct, right? It's a code of conduct that they've agreed that will define them, whatever that code of conduct may be. And then you break it. They just like lions, you know. Have you ever seen, you know, when one of the lions start acting a little crazy, they start clawing at them. You know, you out of order. You know. So those are just things that are very important to understand. Yesterday I went to a funeral, my mom had a friend that she's known for 53 years, died. And so something hit me when that happened is that, one, everybody's going to die.
Correct.
You're not, I mean, I don't care if you become a vegan right now. The chances that you're going to get over 120, slim. That's just the way that it goes. But the point is that what are you going to leave?
Yep.
Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1. And this will take us back into the recap for last week, or the week before last, because we're going to talk about the whole wilderness economy too. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's just on YouTube.
7:1. A good name is better than perfumed oil, and the day of death better than the day of birth.
So, when you die, it's better than when you live, than the day of your birth, because then you'll have a legacy behind you that will determine what it is that you've done, and you'll be in, you know, out of your body, so you won't be able to defend yourself. The only thing that's going to defend you is your works.
Or the name, like it says, your reputation,
Right.
which what you laid out, like your legacy. What have you done? What relationships have you built and,
Right.
and impacted?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the whole judgment seat of the Messiah, right?
Right.
You're going to be judged by your work.
Right. Absolutely. So you're not just going to be judged by how many times you came to Sabbath or,
That's right.
or been to church.
Come on.
That's not it. Man,
Right.
we finding out that we finding out that this is more than that.
Yes.
You know, this,
Yes.
like we said with the computer, analogy when we first started. You can get all the pieces together, but if you don't plug it into the wall and get the power going through it, then you just got a hunk of metal. And the same with the Bible. If you're not going to put all the pieces together and incorporate more than just religion, then you just got some words written on a paper. And you're going to sound good when you're doing it, but then what happens when somebody's hungry?
Come on.
Can you feed them?
Well, that's why I know me personally.
Sure.
When we talk about the Sabbath and we talk about don't do no work, and it says don't do, you know, we're being taught to do certain kinds of work.
Right, servile.
You know, so now, in terms of ministry, like I said, do I not feed someone?
Come on.
You know, because Yeshua said, the work that I do now, you do. And he worked the Sabbath day. So it's like, don't do your work, but we're not exempt from doing his work.
Right. And
when,
really,
when we're called upon, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we still have to be in tune with the Holy Spirit. When the Holy Spirit says, go, and then you go.
Right.
And the thing is that
Right.
there's different types of work.
Correct.
Exactly.
And that's the whole thing is that, you know, we can't just blanket it and say no work at all. What I think we talked about it those 2 weeks ago. Is like, so if you spill something on the ground, you're just gonna leave it there? I can't work today. You know, no, you got to clean it up. You got to do those things that are necessary to keep it.
Can I read this to
Sure.
go
Go
with
ahead.
that? Because I made it a point too, but Deuteronomy 23, verse 12 and 13
Go
says,
for it.
and you shall have a place outside the camp where you shall go out, and you shall have a sharp implement among your equipment, and when you sit down outside, we know what this is, you shall dig with it and turn and cover your excrement.
Right.
It's
So
like-
yeah,
like you
there's
got
some things you're gonna have to do
right.
to take care of it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I think we haven't been careful, and I say we as you know, when we tell people, you know, like you said, we're supposed to be the one with the wisdom, and like you said, if we don't have no wealth, you shouldn't be teaching this anyway.
Ooh.
But you're telling people, the word says don't work,
Right.
but the word doesn't say that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, there's
So-
different types of things.
Yeah, so now, like I said, so, you know, people have houses, homes, you know. So, yeah, we're not supposed to be, like, going out there trying to make money, you know, but we still have especially as, like we read the definition, husband, I have a responsibility, always.
So we got a brother that just commented,
Yohanan?
Yehochanan ben Abraham says, the religious hypocrites of the Messiah's day used the Sabbath day as a day to be lazy and gluttonous. But the Messiah used it to do good and stay busy even when resting from his weekly work.
Amen.
That's a good point.
That's a
that's good.
very good point.
You know, when Messiah was walking the earth, he was at a time when there was a political restraint with Rome.
Sure.
And Rome is pretty much influenced America in a lot of ways.
It is.
right. Right.
Junior Rome.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, over here in America, you know, your modern day Rome, you have land per se that Rome has taken over, that the Most High Yahweh gave to His people.
Right.
This is natural resource. The Father in Genesis 1, you know, when it says Adam, male and female, were given dominion over the earth, they were given dominion over the land.
Right.
And so Rome took away the rights of Israel to have a direct access to what the Most High gave them.
Absolutely.
You know, like I said, even in like we talk different professions, different jobs. You know, some of you guys were talking about in the IT field.
Mm-hmm.
I was too. I was a hardware engineer, so you know, when you're working like data center stuff like that.
Yep. Yes, sir.
The equipment needs to be recovered.
Man.
Because it's running all the time.
Right.
And so there, you know, you have clean. There's heat built. You know, there's things. We do certain type of maintenance. What we have to recover the system.
Right. Absolutely.
At some point. And so,
I'm
like I
with
said,
you.
we're talking
I'm
about
with you.
they were building the temple, so they established a Shabbat of rest because they had to recover.
Right.
The animals, you know. So we look at it like, you know, some jobs we do. Some people work, you know, hospitals are still operating. I was military, you know, like
There wasn't no such thing as
I
that.
couldn't tell my commander not today because it's a Sabbath day. You know,
Right.
So, you know, the enemy coming.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good segue, because if you start to look at the Qumran sect, they one of the massacres, because they would know. I mean, if you're going to go fight Israel, go on the Sabbath, because they're going to be rested.
Yep.
And then, right, so that's simple. But there was one of the people that said, nah, man. This time we gonna have a surprise for them this time around.
Yeah.
And they went off in there, and they was like, and they was armed and ready. And
That's
they were able to route them and send them back. I have to get the name of the book that talks about it. So it's just not one of those hard and fast rules to where you get into legalism and all those types of things.
Right.
You just have to be able. That's where wisdom comes in.
Hallelujah. Yep.
That's where wisdom comes in, especially being foreigners in a foreign country.
Right.
You have to be able to operate with wisdom and discretion.
Yep.
Absolutely. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about the last 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the situation with the manna. And I want to bring out an aspect of that whole situation that wasn't discussed, just to kind of add some latitude to it. Because first, when we're talking about the wilderness economy, first thing we're talking about leaving Egypt behind,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the first thing. But it's more than just a physical leaving Egypt behind and coming out of the land. It's also a mindset, right? Because being in Egypt, they got used to being slaves. When you become used to being a slave, you're used to being a consumer, you're used to being somebody doing everything for you, controlling your every action, your movement. You have no ability to make decisions. You don't know how to make decisions. So then they were pushed out of that. And also, if you look at Egypt at the time, that was similar to America right now, like industrial. By that time in Egypt, it was an industrial, highly militarized society at that point in time, which is why you had chariots and all those different types of things. And the way that the economy was based on is that there's one head, which was the Pharaoh, and even though the people working on the land were working on the land and making food, the land still belonged to the Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't belong to the person that was working the land. Mm-hmm. Neither did they have the rights to the products that were produced. Everything that they produced had to go back up that hierarchy. So there was one person on the top, and that person ruled everything. We talked about Acts 2:44 through 47. That's a vastly different situation. However, you're talking about agrarianism versus industrialism. And here's where we are, where we find ourselves today. We live in an industrial country where we're constantly told that if you want to get salvation, it's not to go back to the land. Salvation is to what? go and get a job, get a degree, get a good job, work for, 45, 50 years, and then hopefully you can retire.
Yeah.
That's really the cycle. That's the rat race that we're told to get into.
Yep.
Whereas when you look at leaving Egypt behind and leaving that mindset behind, you start thinking about being able to produce. Because if you even have a small plot of land, you can produce so many things on that land.
Right.
For anybody that, of course because you can grow food and things like that. But then, here, and I brought a couple of things here. So, these are seeds. This is about $150,000 right here.
Wow.
Oh, people can't see.
Yeah, that's about 100.
These are seeds.
Those are seeds.
That's about $150,000. Because each one of these seed packets probably has about 20, 30, 40. Some probably have 100 more seeds, right? And in the California, agriculture, and this is in 2010, was about $54 billion, which includes milk, animals, anything that you can get from the land, right?
Yeah, we can see it.
But this is not enough. Just like with the analogy with the computer, I could give you all these seeds, and it's got a potential for all that. But
I have to know what to do with the seed.
you have to know what to do with the seeds.
And do it.
And then
that part right there.
Supposed to do with the
That
seeds,
part right
you
there.
actually have to do it.
You have to work.
You don't have to go to work.
Knowledge application.
Right. Right.
I'll go for 6 days.
Right.
6 days a week. Absolutely. That's the idea.
I'm working
So-
my way.
And so we also have things like this comfrey here. This is comfrey leaf. It's good for making salves and different things for your skin. We were able to cure eczema from a couple of our children just based on comfrey here. This is comfrey leaf that we have. So then we also, not only do we have...
Wait, you're when you go up to the camera, you don't go close enough. You might want to type that in the thing because it's glaring from the lights.
Got you.
Oh, okay.
People might not be able to understand exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
Comfrey leaf.
Yep. Thank you.
No problem.
Jar,
I was just looking at it. I was like, okay, there's a little bit of a delay. So when he walked up, came back, I was like, yeah, it's not.
You can't see it.
Can't see it.
Okay.
You just see a jar, and they might not understand what you're saying.
Right.
Oh, yeah, they can't see the wording and the writing on
Yeah.
it. Okay.
So you now have a hospital, right?
Yeah.
So in addition to a place you're producing food, you now have a hospital
Yeah.
that you can produce things that people can use for medicine, right? On one piece of land.
Yeah.
And then you can also sell these things too, which we do sell them. You got those things too. Also, you can produce other products like soap.
Yo, it's thebomb.com.
Soap.
I'm headed that way too.
Right. And so what this represents a way for us to employ ourselves.
Right.
Just more of those in the soap, and of course you can always buy it, but it takes time and people to do this. And what's stopping us from putting together a manufacturer or giving us a place where we can have a room like this and then manufacture on a level to where you have people working. Because we unemployed in the biggest percentages that you can think of. This is the material wealth that we have to start generating. You know what I'm saying? These are the things that are the foundation of the material wealth that we have to start generating. And guess what happens as soon, it's people that come from all over the place wanting Yisrael Family Farm soap. And the reason why I could have named the farm anything, but it was that on purpose because it was to serve as what? An ensign. It's to serve as an ensign for those people that'll see it and say, Yisrael,
One more time, you said it was to serve as
an ensign.
Inside. Okay.
An ensign. ENSIGN, an ensign.
Oh, an ensign. Okay.
Where's that?
An ensign, you got the dictionary. That's the book of understanding with all I getting, right? Get wisdom and then you get understanding. The book of understanding, when you ask for something what it is, it's right there.
Like I was going to run down, look it up later.
You might get a
We
holy
can look it up
cleanser.
now. we can look it up now.
That's all
Inside.
that sin. I got some sin.
So it's a noun, right? It says the flag or banner of a military band, a banner of colors, a standard, a figured cloth or piece of silk attached to a staff, and usually with figures, colors, or arms. They're on borne by an officer at the head of a company, troop, or of the band. Let me continue. Any signal to assemble or to give notice, right? People lift up an ensign to the nations, a signal, right? A badge, a mark of distinction, rank, or office,
Okay.
right? And then it talks about an officer that carries the flags or colors, naval signs. So pretty much it's a mark or a sign or a signature, or it signals somebody to think about something like flags.
Right.
Flags are ensign. You
Right.
know, when you have the 50 stars and the red and white
Right.
stripes, that's
The
an ensign that, okay, you representing United States of America.
Feel like the iPhone thing. Okay, I got it.
Right.
That's what an ensign. So an ensign.
Ensign.
So that was the whole purpose, to be an ensign, to know that there is a production facility
Mhm.
that is running under the knowledge of Yisrael.
Mhm.
For those people who are Yisrael, we would call them,
Mhm.
so that we could come together and start to become self-sufficient,
Mhm.
because it is that time.
Yep.
So, like I said, going back to the wilderness. So, like I said, so the idea was a prohibition against industrialism, because what was the rule? You can only get as much as you can use in a day.
Right.
One of the marks of an industrial society is what? You produce and produce and produce and produce, and all the time hoarding so that you can have surplus. And when we were in Egypt, what were we tasked with building? The treasure houses.
Mhm.
Out of what? Mortar and
Mortar,
brick. Because they produced so much excess, and then they wanted to hoard it so they can keep it. Right?
Mm.
So when it was time for us to start to establish economic concepts,
Mhm.
no, you're not supposed to be like that.
Mm.
There's always going to be something there for you. Trust in the Most High.
Period. Hallelujah.
Trust.
That's right.
Only get as much as you need to get. Except for when it was the Sabbath, you're going to gather double.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? But outside of that, you only need enough. Right?
Even the Sabbath for the land, he still says it's still going to be
Absolutely.
something there. You know,
Absolutely.
Once you dig
Right.
it, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is an advanced soil fertility management concept.
Mm.
Because when you grow on land and you let it sit, then what happens is it starts to regenerate itself. Because when you till land, it's like, so when you till land, so, we're now into agricultural concept now. But soil is made up of 45% mineral,
Uh-huh.
45% air and water, right? And then the other 10% is going to be humus, which is like this dark coloring. If you ever see really, really good soil, it starts to get really, really dark.
Really.
And then organic material,
Mhm.
right? And that's what's responsible for the plants to grow, is that organic material. That will provide the nutrients, most of the main macronutrients that you need to grow. When you dig the land, it automatically starts to release things. So with the first time when you grow your crops for the first year, it's like really, really good, because you released all the chemicals, or not the chemicals, but all the minerals that have been stored in the land when you're not tilling it.
Mhm.
But when you leave it alone and let it sit, it goes through the process of regenerating and storing materials. The plants that are there break down, they go back into the soil, and then it's like giving a new lease on life, almost like a snake. When a snake sheds its skin,
Mhm.
it becomes back new again.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Somebody has a question.
Sure.
And say it out loud.
Oh, they're just asking, what's the scripture for that, and to produce only what you need is what they're asking.
Are you talking
Exodus
about
16.
Exodus 16?
Yeah.
Exodus, I think it's 16:16.
You were going back to the point of a couple of weeks ago about. Okay. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Exodus
that's-
chapter
that's-
16. Here, I'll just type it in.
That's what they were asking.
So anyway, so like I was saying, that getting away from the concepts of we need to produce all of this extra surplus and then store it. No, we have enough that we need. We're going to make sure that it's there. The Most High is going to make sure that we have what we need, and establishing that trust. Because if we don't establish that trust with the Most High, then how are we going to trust in the cycles of seed time and harvest? Because that's what it really comes down to. We are depending on an artificial system, and we place more trust in that system than we do with the system that's been going on for the last 200,000 years, if we go back to as far as they think that the first person was around, right? Which is, right, sometime around March, day and night is equal, and then goes to summer, where it's the longest day. Then it comes back to fall, where day and night are about equal again. Then it goes down to winter, where you've got the shortest day. That's been going on at least as long as I've been alive. And I'm pretty sure that there's other people that can attest that it's been going on too. So why don't we depend on that? Why is that not what we depend on?
Right, especially when the power we serve, the energy, right? It was the one who established all of it.
Let's go to Psalms chapter 19, verse 1 then. Psalms chapter 19, verse 1. Psalm chapter 19, verse 1. And read.
It says, the heavens declare the glory of God. The dome of the sky speaks the work of his hands.
Stop. So the skies speak? I wonder what they're saying. Keep going.
Every day it utters speech. Every night it reveals knowledge. Without speech, without a word, without their voices being heard, their line goes out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he places a tent for the sun.
So stop. So a tent. What do we know about, what is a tent? A tent, give me some of the characteristics of a tent.
It's a covering of shelter.
Okay. What else? Okay, what's a tabernacle? What can you, how do you signify a tabernacle? What does it have? There's things that there's something it's very important.
Was it established also like an altar, a place of worship?
Yeah.
Where we're worshiping the sun.
Absolutely. Okay. One more thing. So it's got 4 stakes. Any tabernacle or what have you has 4 sides, right? It's got 4 points. Those are the points of the year, where you have we call it spring. In the Bible, there's only 2 seasons,
right?
Summer and winter. But you have that point in March where day and night are equal. Then you have another point in summertime where you have the most sun in the day and then very little, night. Then you have another point where day and night are almost the same. And then you have another point where it's the shortest day of the year. So this is the tent that it's talking about. Okay, keep going.
And then we look to the east.
Right, absolutely. That's what we did.
It then places a tent for the sun, which comes out like a bridegroom from the bridal chamber, with delight like an athlete to run his race.
Right.
It rises at one side of the sky, circles around to the other side, and nothing escapes its heat. The Torah of Adonai is perfect, restoring the inner person.
Right.
The instruction of Adonai is sure, making wise the thoughtless. The precepts of Adonai is right, rejoicing the heart. The mitzvah, the commandments of Adonai, is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Adonai is clean, enduring forever. The rulings of Adonai are true. They are righteous altogether, more desirable than gold, than much fine gold, also sweeter than honey, or drippings from the honeycomb. Through them your servant is warned, in obeying them there is great reward. Who can discern unintentional sins? Cleanse me from hidden faults.
Okay, stop for just 1 second. So as we see here, it goes into laying out how the universe works and how the stars and the heavens are, and then it equates that in those same things to the law, right? And then it says in the knowing of them there's great reward. Because if you're an agricultural people, you also have to know about astronomy. You got to know what's happening in the skies. Because remember, they didn't have iPhones and apps to find out the lunar phase and all those different things. You know, so at this point in time, if it becomes nighttime, I can go and, you know, look outside and I know what constellations are in the sky in different parts of the year. You know, and I could say, hey, you know, at this time of the, if Orion is in the sky in the east at this time of the year, then guess what? It's about to get really cold. Because you can set these things. You can set your clock to these things every single year to determine what's going to be happening. Because when you're dependent on that, then you have to get to know it. And you have to live by it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, even to the point of our ancestors, they didn't have light bulbs.
Correct.
So when it got dark, they may have had a fire,
That's right.
but for the most part, they went to sleep.
Right.
And they lived longer. Or maybe they lived better, put it that way. Maybe they didn't live longer, but they lived better.
Right.
So these are all the things that we've not incorporated into our day-to-day living as we're becoming these people again. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
These are the things that
That
we
makes
have
sense.
to incorporate for us to truly come into the power.
Right.
So I'm going to pull out this other book here, and I'm going to have ask somebody if they can read, or I'll read it, matter of fact. So this book is called Daily Life in Biblical Times. It's a free book. If you want, I can get you the link.
Daily Life in Biblical Times by who?
Daily Life in Biblical Times by Oded Borowski.
Okay.
It has different types of things such as urban life, household, life cycles, rural life. But I'm going to go and talk about the socio-political structure of the village, right? That's what I'm going to talk about.
This is beautiful.
You said it was a free book?
Yeah, it's a free book. I can get it for you if you want. I can send it to you.
Yes, please.
Sure. So, the nuclear family was the cornerstone of Israelite society in general, and in village society in particular. But since the economy demanded large human resources, the nuclear family joined with others in a larger unit. The extended family, called the Beth Ab, house of the father, which sometimes including up to 3 generations. That's how we live, in one house. Also, also, when you start to talk about the economy, unlike urban life, village life in the Iron Age was directed mainly at securing survival of the family. All efforts were made to achieve this goal, and it was reflected in an economical system that was family-centered. So your family is your business. The means of production were owned and remained in the family. And this was true whether the economy was pastoral or agrarian-oriented. These and other factors, such as inhospitable environment, critically determined the nature of the family units that constituted the village settlements. Village economy was based on seasonal work, centering on tilling the land and herding. However, men and women were engaged in many other tasks in the off-season periods. These included the production of goods, and the repair of tools and installations. While the length of workday was from sunrise to sunset, many times the day started and ended earlier and later than that because of the need to maximize the use of daylight. And then agriculture, it says, once the Israelites established their presence in the land, agriculture became their main source of livelihood. So, you know, as you start to, and so these are people that are archaeologists that have went and looked and found out how these people were living. And so this gives us the things that we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And now when you talk about agriculture, it's deeper than just growing food. Because the reason why you have a microchip is because of agriculture. Because microchips are made out of sand. Sand came from the earth. Right? So, and just like this table, made out of wood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, black people always talk about they want to sit at the table. Nah, I just want to grow some wood.
Right.
I just want to grow wood that they make the tables out of. I don't want to sit there.
Right.
And I want the contract to supply the tables.
Man. Right.
Forget it. I don't want to sit at your table. You just come buy the tables for me.
Right.
I get the tables made for you.
Real.
So, you know, these are things that are, and this message that I'm talking about is much different than probably if you go to a regular class, because I'm talking about organizing ourselves so that then we can maximize our skills and our resources, so that then we can actually start to establish these types of enterprises, whether they're agricultural or whether it's business, or, you know, in the case now, whether it's cannabis, it's a business. People can get into it. You know, all of those things. And we have to do those things. And for me, if us coming together and having Shabbat is not going to help us to establish the relationships with each other and start to get to know each other to where we're going to start working together, more so than just Ashanti buying soap, which I love Ashanti buying soap from us, and I'm sure you love having the soap. But deeper than that,
Right.
I want to be able to give you 75 bars of soap so you can go in your network and say, hey, you guys want some soap?
Right.
I'm using it.
Right.
And then that becomes an income source for you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I want to be able to say, okay, we're about to harvest, 500 pounds of comfrey leaf, and we need to turn that into some salves. I should be able to call everybody, and then guess what? You go home with some salves for you and your family. You go home with some to sell, and then we can take the rest to a storehouse that we have, and then guess what? People are going to buy it.
Yep.
If only because it's Yisrael.
Yep. Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? And if we're not going to do... Okay, go ahead. If we're not going to do that, then what are we doing?
Come on.
Right.
What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we going to do? No, that's not what this is all about.
Yep.
You were going to say something, Shanti.
No, I was saying I totally agree with you, and thank you. Like we talked before,
Yes.
just establishing me coming in and learning these things is just awesome. And the Father, works in mysterious ways. You link people up who really want to progress and grow and learn how to, be self-sufficient, as you stated, because that's the whole foundation of the Father. He says He came to give us, like you said, you don't believe in, having to wait to go to heaven. Like, it can be here now. Right. And we have the tools, we have the power, we're equipped to have life on earth and be abundant.
Where is heaven? Here where?
On earth.
Let's go to Luke chapter 17, verses 20 and 21. We'll get a clear answer.
Yep.
Luke chapter 17, verses 20 and 21. Luke chapter 17, verses 20 and 21. And we're almost it's almost, it's almost been 2 hours now.
Okay.
So,
Really? Don't feel like it.
time flies when you having fun.
Yes. I'm like, come on.
I've been to presentations
good.
before. After the first 15 minutes, you already wishing you've been to work where you got that boring person in front that's like, here's the presentation.
Like I said, we participate.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that,
it's part of it.
That helps even the speaker.
Yeah, absolutely.
2021 of Luke. They put to him this Shilah, Rabbi, we know that you speak and teach straightforwardly, showing no partiality, but really teaching what God's way is.
That's Luke chapter 17, 20 and 21.
Yes, Luke 17. Yep.
Then pay.
You said Shilah. I was like, yeah, you had a question right there. Next one.
Okay, says, now 17 and 20. Nor will people be able to say, look,
read 20. Yep.
The person asked Yeshua when the kingdom of God would come. The kingdom of God, he answered, does not come with visible signs, nor will people be able to say, look, here it is.
Wait a minute, so stop. So the kingdom of heaven, no visible signs. Nobody can tell you, oh, it's over here or it's over there. They can't tell you that. I've heard people say it though. Maybe they didn't see the scripture.
Come on.
Okay, go ahead.
That's okay. Here it is. Over or here it is over there. Because you see, the kingdom of God is among you.
It's among you.
It's among you.
It's in you. Yeah.
It's
Here's the king's dome. Right? Yeah, right up in here.
Most.
This is where it is. This is the matter of fact, this piece of land is probably more important than the one you walk on.
Exactly.
And unless this piece of land is in order, then everything that you do outside of there will be out of order.
We as human beings are a natural resource.
Absolutely.
We're composed of the soil.
And that's why they call it human resources.
Direct.
Every corporation has a human resources department. Because if you don't keep people happy and take care of them when they have problems, then they don't produce.
A lot of people have always been confused about the heavens. It's the heavens. And so people always say, because the word says, if you read King James, that God is in heaven, not that heaven is in God. You know?
Right.
So then if heaven is a place in God, you know, and then we abide in Him, then it's a place in us. You know? Just like you say, we tabernacle with Him. He chose the tabernacle in man. So it's all within, like I said, our spiritual heart.
Absolutely.
In our mind, but not, like I said, we can't go to the place.
No.
Right.
We take that place with us.
Right.
Wherever and depending on what's in our minds, then those things will play out. And we will either weave or create heaven, or we'll create hell. Based on what's going on in our head. That's why it's so important that we put the right information in it.
Good point.
Yeah, so important, because that's the foundation. Okay, so my last thing that I have that the Most High gave to me to talk about was Proverbs chapter 28, verse 19. And after this, we can do question and answer, or we can conclude with prayer, or what have you. But this is the last thing that, and I'd actually like to do some research on this one, and we start to pull out our tools, because really, Proverbs chapter 28, verse 19. And I'm gonna go up here to the front because I want to write some of this down. So we're gonna need people to start pulling out some of these tools. Who's good with the concordance? Shanti?
I'm all good with it.
Okay.
Yep.
There's a concordance there.
Did you see the question posed?
Oh no.
I didn't know if you wanted to, because they said before the lesson was over, so I know you're doing
okay. What kind of challenges how I changed my name? Okay. Yes, I will talk about it. I'll talk about it, but I'll talk about it, once we get done.
Okay.
It's really a simple process. It's not. And of course, that was pre 9/11, so it might be a little tougher nowadays.
Post here online, chat.
Just making sure you. Okay, you go.
Yeah. No, I saw them post the question. That's why I wanted to see if you saw it.
So Proverbs 28:19 or 18.
29:18, right?
18.
Okay.
Wait, it's 29:18?
Chapter 28, verse 18.
Oh, I thought it was.
Wait, what? Say it one more time.
29:18.
29:18. Okay, because I wrote it down wrong too. 29:18.
29:18.
Okay.
We there?
It's funny because that one lines up with what you're saying.
28:19 does.
28:19. Let's see. What does 28:19 say?
He who farms his land will have plenty of food. And he who follows fertilities will have plenty of poverty.
So is that 29:18?
Yeah, 28:19.
28:19. Okay. Anyway.
So what is 29:18?
29:18. Without a prophetic vision, the people throw off restraint. The he who keeps score is happy.
Yeah, they both apply.
They actually work on each other. So let's read it. So read it. 28:19. Read it. Somebody.
Read it in the King James.
Okay.
Because it reads a little different.
Yeah, it reads a lot different. So he that tilleth his land shall have plenty of bread, but he that followeth after vain persons shall have poverty enough. So the scripture is split into two pieces. The first part, which is he that tilleth his land shall have plenty of bread, which we should probably look up: tilleth, land, and bread. But, and then the second part is, he that followeth after vain person shall have poverty enough. So we should probably look up following, vain, and poverty, right? So we can know what those things are. So Shanti, if you got the concordance, do you want to, I mean, we could probably infer what tilleth would mean. But let's look it up anyway so we can do an example of some study here. Tilleth.
From 28:19.
Yeah, 28:19. Proverbs 28:19. Tilleth from 28:19. And then, if she's going to be doing the concordance, then somebody's going to have to do the dictionary. Who's good with the dictionary? Who wants to look up some stuff in the dictionary? So we put together an orchestra.
I can look at it.
Okay. Here you
I
go.
can help out. So I got
Okay, cool. Well, then you can do, let's see, you can do the synonym finder then.
Just tell me what word I'm looking at.
Yep, I'll tell you in just a moment once we get to Shanti here. So what we're doing is we're looking up the word in the concordance, and then once we find the word in the concordance, it's going to give us some more words. And those words we're going to define with the 1828 dictionary. So once we get there, we there? What do we have?
Abad.
Abad. Okay, so
Come on.
wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
So first of all, abad. What does abad mean? Shanti, read it. What's the
Okay,
definition?
here we go. I'm laughing because we was talking about this last week.
Right.
To work.
So abad means to work.
To work.
So what else though?
To serve.
So not only are you going to work land, but you're going to serve the land. What else?
Wow.
Till.
You're going to till it.
Enslave.
So you're going to enslave yourself to it.
Keep in bondage.
You're going to keep yourself in bondage to it, which means you're going to continue to be on it. You're
That's
going to
right.
find ways to be on it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bond service. Compel.
Compel. Okay.
Do.
Okay.
Dress.
Right.
Ear.
Right.
Listen to it, right? Execute.
Right. So that means you still got to do something. Go
That's
ahead.
right. Husbandman.
Yep.
Keep. Labor.
Right.
Right. Bring to pass.
Right.
Serve.
Right.
Servant.
Right.
Do.
Right.
Service till.
Right.
It says transgress from margin, right?
Okay.
I gotta look that up.
Yeah.
Set a work.
Okay.
Be wrought.
Mm-hmm.
Worshiper.
So work and worship is synonymous.
Correct.
Right.
That's crazy.
And that's why, if I could say this,
Go ahead.
worship. You know, when people put on music, they say, "Okay, I'm having worship." The way you walk out your daily life, serving and being obedient to the Most High, that's worship.
Worship.
So we're supposed to worship 24/7.
Right. And you do.
Right.
Whether you like it or not. So when you go to work, that's
Yes,
you're
right.
participating in
Right.
worship.
Right.
Right? Because it's ceremonial.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to work, you usually start the day the same. You walk in, you clock in. You got a little daily ritual that you do when you get yourself ready to do your work and what have you. There's certain things that they make you do. There's an employee manual that they give you. Their religion, right?
Yeah.
Their company culture that they give you that you need to follow. And when you have a problem, they tell you to call human resources. So it's a religious thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If only we could be as astute in providing that for our people as they are. That's why they won't leave.
Man.
Imagine if somebody came to you got a job,
Right.
and you get a weekly or bi-weekly check,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody telling you, well, I want you to come do this over here, and we don't have anything to give them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
What would you think about that? Would you give up somebody giving you something to somebody who's giving you nothing except for maybe a class on Saturday?
Ooh-wee.
You're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So we have to be able to bring something, and we have to have something for people when they come. Otherwise, they're going to be like, it's vanity.
Mm.
Okay, so till it. So that's the first part of tilling. So then go to land next. No, actually, hold on. Look up work. Sorry. Look up work in the dictionary. And then you can start looking up land in the concordance. Start looking up land in the concordance. You can look up work in the dictionary, and then you can look up work in the synonym finder there. So we've got the synonym finder by J.I. Rodell. We've got the Webster's 1828 dictionary, and then we've got the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, and that's just minimal. We're not even scratching the surface, really. We're just, I mean, if we want to do that, I remember I used to go to the Central Library here in Sacramento, and I used to sit there from 9 a.m. to like 5, 6 p.m. And they got reference books there.
Man.
They even have the Masoretic text there, too. But you have to ask for it. It's not out anywhere. It's there, though. You got to ask. They'll be like, are you sure? Yeah, I know what I'm asking for. And then take
Now, you just have to know what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Right.
I like to go to the library and ask Mr. Librarian, it's like, what you looking for?
Right.
Something on something.
You in the wrong place.
The librarians ain't what they used to
Okay,
be.
you got work for me?
Yes.
Okay, what's work?
Worked or wrought.
Okay.
And it's got in a general sense, to move or to move one way and the other.
Okay.
To perform, as in popular language, it is said a mill or machine works well.
Mm-hmm.
To labor, to be occupied in performing manual labor,
Right.
whether severe or moderate. One man works better than another. One man works hard, another works lazily. To be in action or motion, as the working of the heart. To act, to carry on operations, our better part remains. To work in close design. To operate, to carry on business, to be customarily engaged or employed in. Some work in the mines, others in the loom, others at the anvil. And they that work in fine flax. Is there another example? To ferment, as unfermented liquors work violently in
So we
hot
have to have
weather.
our own wine, too.
Wow.
The Israelites were known for wine, known for grapes, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So we need some vineyards.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to put a vineyard together, or we have to go buy one.
Yep.
Yeah.
To operate, to produce effects by action or influence. All things work together for good to them that love God. This so wrought upon the child that afterwards he desired to be taught.
How many more do we have? Got a lot?
Yes, I would say, because there is 12 to this one, and then there's another word for work. It says to move, to stir, and mix, as to work mortar.
Right. So the general idea of work means that we're going to be performing some action on the land. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll only be tilling land, but we'll be performing some kind of action on the land. Now, what's the economic concept behind that? It means that if you have land and you possess the land, then and you're on it, then guess what? You're in a position to save yourself a lot of money. Because if you live here in the United States, as soon as you go off your land, you just started spending money. You got gas. you run a stop sign. You get a ticket. You know, they got 1,000 ways to separate you from the little pennies that you have once you leave your land. And if you work on your own land, they have this thing called the home office deduction, right? When you file your taxes, where you get to claim part of your house, and you are able to depreciate that. And then anything that you do as a business person, you can write that stuff off, right? So if you have a business and you get ready to leave your house, and let's say you got to drive from, Yuba City out here to do business, then guess what? You write that off at the end of the year, back and forth. This is what happens when you are a producer. And when you look at the United States is set up for businesses to operate. All of the benefits that you get in the United States based in taxes are based on business. So if you're not in business, then the chances are most of your money is being extracted from you from the form of taxes, right? Because when you have a business, the business operates, you need certain things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and then you don't pay taxes until after you've already transacted all of your business. Whereas when you have an individual, then your money comes out of your check as soon as you get it. And you see the little line items. Is a business, you don't pay taxes until you come at the end of the year to say, what did you actually make?
Mm-hmm.
And depending on what you put, what kind of business you have, like for example, Coca-Cola doesn't usually pay taxes. Like, why not? They made a lot. They made $2 billion. Yeah, they made $2 billion, but their expenses were probably 2.5.
Yep.
So then at the end of the
Yep.
year, when they show how much their profit was, they don't have any. Because by the time they paid all your salaries, and by the
Yep.
time they paid for all the equipment and all the manufacturing
Yep.
and all this and the advertising and the marketing, those
Yep.
are all business expenses.
Right.
So at the end of the year, because they put out more, then guess what? They didn't pay any taxes. In fact, they probably got some money back.
Non-taxable expenses.
Right. Right.
So
Absolutely.
they don't report an income, not
Absolutely.
not certain expenditures.
Right. So this is why we have to be producers and not consumers.
Mm.
You know. So this is going to give us an ability to be able to shield ourselves, because that's what this is. This is a shield. It says that the word is a buckler to those that put their trust in Him.
Sure.
So that as we become producers, then we'll be able to protect ourselves. Because what we have to do is we have to build our own reality in our own like society within society, so that we can be protected. That's what everybody else does. They come to the United States, and what do? They set up a miniature of the country that they came from.
Yep.
You know, Chinatown, that's been there in San Francisco. That's been there. That's been there since 1800s. And outside of China, that's the largest concentration of Chinese people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point of where, if you go down too far in there, they don't send police down in there. Because one, you can't talk to nobody, and they not going to talk to you.
Yep.
So, you know, it's like, what are you going to do? They have to have special Chinese police officers that are in there that have to interface with the San Francisco Police Department, because nobody's going to talk to them.
Yep.
I've been to some of the real places like in Korea, Japan, what they call open market. When you keep on going back, they still skinning animals and dogs. You know, it's like, and you can't stand the smell, but you can't communicate either.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. But that's their culture. That's what they do.
And they, like I said, they'll rob you, and ain't nobody gonna say, you know.
Man.
So do you have some synonyms for work?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Give me a couple synonyms for work, as we're still working on this.
Let's see here.
But we're doing different types of
Labor,
work today.
toil,
Right.
effort, endeavor, travail, sweat,
Yeah.
moil, grind, trouble, stress, strain, discipline.
So work. So wait a minute. So work and discipline are synonymous.
Wow.
That's right. I mean, because it's like another word for craft. Like, what's your craft? What's your discipline?
Yeah.
What's your skill set?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So work and discipline are synonymous. Keep going.
Yeah.
That's why we have to deal with words.
Yep. Training, tasks.
So work is training.
Yep.
So we're not just talking about mindless, like, oh, we're just putting this over here. No, there has to be training involved.
Training.
Yeah, go ahead.
Task, undertaking, job, chore, duty, charge, assignment, commission,
Right.
errand, mission.
Right. That's what work is. Yeah.
Right.
So we're supposed to be approaching the work for the Most High as if we're on a mission, because we are.
Hallelujah.
We are on a mission. Why do you know why is Sacramento called Sacramento? Because of a mission.
Because of a mission.
Why? Because that's a Catholic word. It was the Catholic priests
Sacrament.
that determined Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
It's also because it's a sacred place, because it reminded them of the Garden of Eden. Because if you look at Sacramento, there's 4 rivers flowing here. There's 4 rivers that flow into Sacramento, and it's a lot of water. And when they found it, it was like that. But in addition to that, they had missions. Remember, the Catholic, they have missions, and they had missionaries. They sent missionaries out all over the world to do what? established Catholicism.
Catholicism, universalism.
Yeah. What? That's what they decided that they had to do, and that's the reason why we have some of these terms. So we have to be on a mission too.
Come on.
Our work is our worship, and then we have to be on a mission.
Yep.
So when we're done working, people like, even working at your job, if you have a job, they should be like, dang, you 10 times better than everybody else, huh? You see, and that's the thing about employment. The best worker at a job don't get fired. They don't get fired and they don't get laid off. That doesn't happen. If you're 10 times better, they will find somewhere to continue to keep you there if necessary. So when you talk about somebody that, oh man, they let me go, man, and man, they holding us back. And we're like, man, you ain't coming to work for me.
So we say the Great Commission and preaching the gospel is a work.
Absolutely. It is a work. Absolutely it is.
Only 6 days a week.
Absolutely. Do you have some more for that pops out at you? What pops out at you? Anything?
Achievement.
Okay.
Accomplishment.
Okay.
Stroke.
Yeah.
Transaction. Enterprise.
Yeah.
Production.
Yeah. This is all work.
Yeah. That's
Okay, cool. So that gives us just a little bit of a flavor of work and outside, because when people think of work, they think of slavery.
Man,
you know,
right.
Work. No. It's deeper than that. It's a discipline.
When you teach the tithe, the whole thing about the tithe is you have work.
Yeah.
Because if you have no work, you have no tithe, you have no offering.
Right. And you cannot show up empty-handed before the Most High. That's a
So we're talking about eating. We talking about eating. We're talking about you can't bring to the king no offering.
Right.
You can't be in this kingdom.
Right.
You were cast out.
You have to be productive.
Yeah, your work has to do. Being able to tithe was a privilege.
Yeah.
Because it meant you had work, which means you blessed in the Lord.
Right. You had that work. You had that inheritance.
Yeah.
Like the Most High said, the priest, he was their inheritance. So, that's a part of Acts chapter 2, starting at verse 47. It was distributed. The priests, they had no inheritance. They had no lands. They had no means of taking care of themselves because their job was to work the temple 24/7. That's theirs.
And in addition, they also in many cases were the military too. So in the same way that in the United States, which I don't know how this ends up happening, but the reason why you pay, because tax and tithe are the same. So the reason why you're paying that tax is to receive certain benefits from the government. Right? You pay taxes and people complain, but when you get hurt and you need workers' comp, or there's a fund that money comes out for you. So in paying the tithe, back then this is your contribution to take care of the functions of running the temple, where if you need to be protected, you can go.
Right, exactly.
So the Levites weren't supposed to work.
No. Not to produce food, not manual labor.
Right. We paid our tithe. Part of our tithe was so that we're concerned about our atonement.
Right.
So that they are praying for you.
Right.
They're doing the work in the temple.
The temple was for the community as a whole.
It was the center. It was the seat of power. Just like here, we're in Sacramento County. So the seat of power for Sacramento County is county supervisor's office downtown, right? And there's 5 people that sit there that make decisions that have to do with the resources that have to do with Sacramento County and the allocation of those resources. Cleaning up trash, making sure everybody's clean, having all those different types of things. See, we're talking about government now. We're talking about government and governing, because we have to become self-governing. We have to start within the groups that we have to start to set up our own government so that we can start to govern ourselves and say, okay, well, we need to so we need to start thinking about land. Then, okay, we need to put a fund together so that we can start to contribute to it, so that as a group we can then purchase land. You know what I'm saying? Or as a group, we can then say, okay, let's say that, you know, because I don't know what everybody's skills is, and we probably won't do it today, but I have a skill sheet where we can all fill out and put our skills on, and then I'm going to go through it and say, okay, these 3 people have the same skills. Well, we need a business. You know what I'm saying? These 4 people have these types of skills. Okay, well then we need to get them together in the same room so that we can think about what can we produce with those skills, and then we can put our skills and resources behind that and push it so that then, guess what? We now have a product.
Right.
So we're not just, okay, I'm not going to tell you the rest of the scripture. We got it. All right, I'm getting ahead of myself. I get ahead of myself. Okay, so you looked up, we looked up work, discipline, something that we're undertaking. You're on land right now, Shanti?
Yep.
Okay, give me land.
776 in the concordance, edits.
Okay.
From an unused root, probably meaning to be firm.
Okay.
The earth.
Right.
At large or partitively, a land.
Right.
Common, area, country, earth, field, ground, land, nation's way, wilderness, world.
Okay, so the wilderness. So we're talking once again about the wilderness economy, right? So he that tilleth or worketh his land or wilderness, whatever. Okay. Do you have something for? What did you say the first word? To be firm.
Yeah.
Okay, so look up firm. Firm in the dictionary, and then firm in the synonym finder. When you get an opportunity. Yeah. You can get them. They're about $25, $30. It's a facsimile, but I checked it along with the
That's F-I-R,
the one
right?
you can down. F-I-R-M.
Yeah.
Firm. Go for it.
Here it is.
Yeah.
And it's saying that it's an adjective is the first one.
Okay, so we're probably using it as are we using it as a verb or are we using it as a noun, Shanti? In the one that you grabbed, is that more like a verb or is a noun? Parts of speech are important too.
It says to be firm, so probably as a verb.
Okay. So because I'm learning the
Sure,
letters,
sure,
that's why I like this book. So the verb form of the word firm: to fix, to settle, to confirm, to establish. This word is rarely used except in poetry. In prose, we use confirm.
Right. So remember, the Bible's written in a few different ways. There's poetically, there's prose, there's simile, there's metaphor, there's literal, there's allegorical, there's figurative. Okay. Go ahead. What else? Is there anything else?
No, that was it.
What about as a noun?
Do you want? Okay. So the word as noun is a partnership or house, or the name or title under which a company transacts business as the firm of Hope and Company.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the name of our firm?
That was the.
No. What's the name? You said a business, right? Or title. What is the name of our firm?
Israel.
Israel. That's our family business trade name.
Man.
So how do we get the name?
How did we get the name? We took on. Well, besides.
Oh, how did the name? Yeah.
Well, I'll go back to Yaakov.
Yes.
Jacob wrestled with the messenger of the Most High, and he prevailed.
Right.
So that's how the name Israel came. And can I say this because I said it before? Yod. It's the 10th letter in Hebrew. In the Paleo, the meaning is your arm or your hand, right? In your grammatical syntax, the Yod would be he or it, right? And then you have the word Sarah. Sarah means to contend or strive, right? And Elohim or El, that's the deity or power, or I like to say energy force.
Right.
So if you put all those together, Yod, Sarah, and El, you get Yisrael.
Right.
He who contends or strives prevails with Elohim.
Right.
With that deity, that power.
Right. So then you have where you see the Most High establishing a divine trade name, a divine business, a divine corporation called Yisrael, right? which is totally different. So I guess so it's almost like if you think at Jacob as like the sole proprietorship, but when it's time to turn that into something organized like a corporation, it's like, no, you're going to be known as Yisrael now. You got a new direction. You got a new idea that you're now supposed to operate according to, right?
Yep.
Okay. So what else for firm? That's it.
There was the adjective.
Okay. Go ahead.
That's tight. How the words being used now. This is good.
Yeah. So we have to start establishing businesses, trade names. Yeah. That's part of our inheritance.
And then it says this Welsh word may be from the Latin. The root of the word is probably Celtic. It says hard, solid, or a solid, to concrete or congeal, to fix, to freeze. This is the root of the Latin word ferrum or iron. Properly fixed, hence applied to the matter of bodies, it signifies closely compressed, compact, hard, solid, as firm flesh, firm muscles. Some species of wood are more firm than others, a cloth of firm texture. Fixed, steady, constant, stable, unshaken, not easily moved. As a firm believer, a firm friend, a firm adherent or supporter, a firm man, or a man of firm resolution.
So hold on. So then another way to look at he that tilleth his land is to say that if you're willing to work, right, and have a steady, fixed, consistent course, right? Yeah. So even so you don't be discouraged if you don't have land right now, physical land. But there's also the spiritual side, which is you need to find your purpose. And then whatever that purpose is, you need to approach it with consistency, discipline, and the other things that we talked about. All right? I'm going to go ahead over to here. What do you have in for firm?
For firm, you have a few here: hard, rigid, stiff, solid, hardened, impermeable, stony, steely, iron. That's okay. Thank you. Fixed, set, secure, stationary, rooted, grounded, established, nailed, bolted, steady, stable, immutable, irreversible, deep-rooted, long-standing, abiding, enduring, durable.
So these are all the things that we have to become as it relates to not just keeping the law, but in also to establishing ourselves in who we are. On more than just a spiritual foundation, but also a material foundation. Keep going.
Relentless, gritty.
Relentless. We have to be relentless.
Goes along with consistent.
Absolutely.
Determined, resolved, confirmed, earnest, serious, stubborn.
So if somebody say you too serious, take it as a compliment.
I'm
on a mission. I'm on a mission.
Exactly.
I'm on a mission. Here,
I'm about my father's
and you want to watch
business.
the NFL.
Stubborn as a mule.
Absolutely. You want to watch NFL.
Right. But you think about it, the mindset that's been put upon us is that we're supposed to think it's a bad thing.
And that's what that give us. They tell us, who remember Lion King? I got children, so I know Lion King, like backward, forwards, up and down. I could probably be in the musical. Yeah, that's exactly what we've been given. That's another way of cutting us off from being a nation. Because when people are trying to build something, like the people that built Chinatown, them people were serious. For it to still be here, it's 2018. And only have, and I read the history of it, so it was only maybe 40 or 50 to start. That means they had to be like, we about to set this thing up, and it's gonna be here forever. As long as this land here, it's gonna be there. You know, so that's that faith of a mustard seed.
Yep.
You know, and with the faith of a mustard seed, you can do what? Move mountains.
Move mountains, move walls.
So what you do is that means that you get a shovel and you start to dig on the mountain. And if you start digging on a mountain, people gonna stop and be like, "What you doing?"
Right.
Then you don't even don't tell them what you're doing. You just turn and give them a shovel. Give them a shovel,
Right.
and then they gonna see two of you. They be like, "Man, what are they doing?" And you flip, and then next thing you know, you got 10 people digging, and as more people join, then the mountain gets moved. We've done about 40 gardens in the last 2 years around in this area. Usually 100 square feet. So that's about 40,000 square feet. That's 1 acre of land that we moved around and tilled in the last 2 years in this area.
Nice.
And many of the people that we put gardens in, they're posting pictures on Facebook. They're talking about they're saving money every month because they don't have to go to the grocery store. You know, they talk about how their children are out there eating now. Children want to eat. Of course, if a child helps grow it, they're going to eat it.
Right.
You know, so we don't have to worry about, don't eat that.
Right.
Just, no, you help to be a part of creation for this.
Yeah.
Then they'll automatically want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so
Really quick, because it's just one more,
No.
but it ties in with the adjective for firm, the last one. It does say solid, not giving way, opposed to fluid as firm lands.
right. So the high idea is not giving way. You know, not giving up
Yeah.
when you deal with that, when you deal with failure. Because if you've grown something, I know you put a whole crop down and it fails, and you be like, dang,
All that work.
all that work for nothing.
But you know that the first mountain you gotta move is you.
Right.
Man.
Right. And
Yeah.
we've been taught to not be in motion,
Yeah.
not be in work. We've been taught to be stationary and just sitting around.
Like I said, I've experienced in my life several times. You know, you have to start
Over again. Yes.
over again.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's part of that perseverance and that not giving up, because what do they say, out of so many failures there's one success, or how many ever successes, but you have to get through
Right.
those many failures
Right.
to get to that success.
Right. And this is all. So you think most of the people that people are paying thousands and thousands of dollars for as what? For motivational speakers.
Man.
Where do you think they got the information from?
Right.
We're getting the same stuff right here out of studying a scripture. We're getting the same information that you're gonna get from Les whoever Williams and all these people that charge $10,000, $20,000.
All come from the Bible.
All comes from the Bible. Okay, so we looked up he tilleth land. What else? What's next?
Yo, can I said something?
Oh, what are these?
What is that?
Think about this. The Most High put the serpent in the garden so man could exercise his dominion over it. Yeah, but we got plague. Or it didn't work out the way it was supposed to. It didn't work out. Somebody put a monkey wrench. Somebody put a monkey wrench in.
Man got lazy, wasn't doing his job.
Right. So he got lazy. He stopped being firm. Stopped being consistent. Started letting some stuff creep in, and then the next thing you know, you look up and you got chaos. It happens. You know, that's called, what's it called? Atrophy, right? Where
Yes.
the universe tends towards disorder, and in order for it to stay ordered, there's got to be a force that keeps it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why when we first started, I talked about 1 Corinthians chapter 14:40, which is let all things be done decently and in order. Right? We have to have an order for everything that we do. You know, when you go, and the thing is we have to be at least as diligent as we are in our jobs, working for other people, as we are when it comes to establishing and working for ourselves.
Yeah.
Minimum standard.
Yeah, Albert should have told that snake, you out of order.
Right. He could have got him up out of there.
Yeah. All he just said, you out of order. He hadn't been to talking.
Right. But hey, you know, that's how it is sometimes. People just feel like they have something to say. So okay, so now what about bread? We're on the next one is bread, right? First of all, before we even get into the actual
You want
word,
me to look at bread?
yes, please. Before we get into bread, we already know bread is a slang for what?
Money.
Right. Right. So we can go there before Shanti even get her hands over into the concordance.
Yeah, I don't know the exact but I know the meaning.
Lechem.
But yeah,
Lechem.
it's lechem.
Yep.
I gotta get strong.
Lechem.
Thank you.
Lechem, just like when we were saying in our prayer. At Lechem who came. Give us our daily bread.
38.99. You know what? I want to know if you noticed something too about bread, but let me go to it first. 38.99. All right.
Yes. Yes. Lechem.
All right. It's from 38.98.
Okay.
Laham.
Right?
Laham means to feed on, figuratively to consume.
Right.
And by implication, to battle as destruction. That's what I wanted to see if you guys know about that, because like war, destruction, battle.
Right.
Milcham, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But let me go to bread now. So after, Laham is devour, eat, fight, overcome, prevail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lechem, bread, it means food.
Right.
For man or beast, especially bread or grain.
Right. For
making it. So it means eat, food, fruit, loaf, meat, victuals.
Right. So if once you till your land, you'll be satisfied with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you will be able to have that without having to go and take your resources to somebody else. Right? That's why you're going to be satisfied. Because you're going to have done work, and then you'll be able to be privy to the work of your hands, the labor of your hands. And so, remember, the first word that we looked, tilleth, was abide. That word is very special, because that was one of the original commands, which was what? To dress and to keep. It's also the word that Moses used when he said, let my people go, that they may serve me.
That's right.
That's also abad too. So the idea of the children of Israel coming out of Egypt was a reestablishment of the commands given in Genesis. And they had to go through the wilderness economy to learn how to take care of themselves again. And then to do what? Trust in the Most High. Because when you're doing agriculture, you're putting a seed in the ground. That's an act of faith.
Yep.
Because sometimes they don't come up.
Right.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
It's
So,
interesting you use the word hand, because we're commanded to use our own hands, mind our own business, meaning use your own hands, you know, and so you're, like say, you're intimately involved,
Right.
you know, with what you put your hands to. Like say you,
Right.
you take up the plow, don't look back. You put your hands to it, you know.
Don't let them hands loose.
Because you're on a mission.
Because you're on a mission. Right. And then also, you, the Hebrew letter U, is the hand, which is the symbol for power.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is your power right here.
And then it ties back to what you're talking about responsibility.
Right.
You know, so you're responsible for what you put your hands to.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So on the other hand, right? So those are all the blessings for those people who till their land. Right? So what it tells you is that it doesn't matter what you're doing on this planet right now, you need to figure out how you can till some land. And I have some across the street if you ever want to get to tilling, and I can show you how to do it. So I'm not advocating that we should do it. I'm telling you that I'm doing it, and I'll be more than happy to show you how and share what I know so that you can see that with one seed. You know, because remember, when you invest money and you invest in the stock market, you're investing some money now for a return on that investment later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's
so
your investment to get that return.
right, one seed, one plant. One plant. This many seeds. This is probably about 2,500, 3,000 seeds here. Off one plant
The one plant.
that I saved. So now you
Off
can...
of one seed that you planted.
Off of one seed. So that means if we planted all these seeds,
Mm-hmm.
then imagine how many more seeds that we'd be able to get. There's no return on investment that's greater than growing your own food.
Yes.
And everybody needs it.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Right.
you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
See, this is the mystery of what's involved in the whole idea why we were told that this is what we're supposed to be doing.
Do you want to turn that so they can see because your hand was covering it.
Yeah.
Right there?
Just to show the jar.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Seeds.
Yep.
Seeds.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
on the other
So you
hand,
can see the
those
size of the
people
jar.
who, so what are we at now? So what's the next part? And once we're done, we're gonna say prayer, and we're gonna move on to our. So what's the next part of the scripture? Proverbs 28:19.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
The second part. We did the first part. The second part says, "But he that followeth after vain persons shall have poverty enough." So follow it. Shanti?
Follow it.
Yeah, follow it. Follow words. Yes, sir?
So these are good words. We've done this before. It's like interesting when you really look up words.
When you start looking up the words,
I
that's
can't
where.
wait to get to poverty.
Man, I can't wait to get the fame.
Okay. Let's see. In Proverbs 28:19, let's see which one they use for that one. Okay, so it's poverty with that one.
So we're looking up poverty in, we're looking up followeth in the Strong's Concordance.
Okay, sorry, I was at the wrong.
7291.
Yep, 7291. That's it. I was looking at follow.
Yep, that's all good.
This is how you.
So first of all, I want to ask you, while you're looking that up,
Yeah.
is this beneficial?
Yes, very
Okay.
much so.
Okay, I just want to make sure that it's beneficial. You know, I only want to give information that's beneficial. If you don't think it's beneficial, be like, this ain't beneficial. Shut up.
No, this is
Let's
very
move to something else.
Before I read, like, this is very beneficial because, like you stated, beginning the lesson, the scriptures were written a while back in an original language, not the one we speak now, and so there's etymological changes in the words
Right.
here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And this is very useful in that, you know, now that we come into this knowledge, we need to know that we have these tools,
Right.
but we need to know how to use the tools.
Right.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And then language also has a mindset that goes along with it.
Right.
Most of our understanding, because you know, the society that we live in, coming from Rome, which comes from Greece,
Right.
which comes from a language, the
Yep.
Greek language, which is based on appearance and not based on concrete.
Right.
So we
Substance.
so substance as opposed to appearance.
Yep.
So we're getting into the substance as opposed to just talking about the appearance.
Yep.
You got it?
Yep. got
Okay,
it.
go for it.
So it's Radaf.
Radaf?
And that means a primary root to run after.
Okay, so run after.
And in parentheses, it says usually with hostile intent, figurative of time gone by. It means chase, put to flight, follow after on, hunt, be under, or persecute, pursue. And that's it.
Right. So, let's look up. Let's see what we got here. Can you see where I pointed to it? Point me out. Let's look after. Let's look after pursue. Pursue.
Okay.
Let's do pursue.
Okay.
Yep. And then you look up pursue in the synonym finder, please. Yep. So pursue.
Yeah.
And then Shanti, while they're doing that part, before we get to that, look up the next word, which is going to be a vein.
Ooh. Man.
Vein. And this is not exhaustive, I will say that.
Yeah.
I mean, each one of these words could occupy an hour or two or more to really get down into it.
So it makes for, when you read the Bible, it makes for easy reading.
Yeah.
When you understand the words.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is that we're not supposed to just read it just like read over it. We're supposed to study it.
Right.
It says meditate in this.
Okay, so I have pursue, but it has, and there's the part that I don't understand. It has a verb, but then it has T and then I.
So verb intransitive?
Okay.
Verb T-I? Yeah.
Verb T or verb I. See, because there's pursue here as a verb,
That's transitive.
and there's pursue here as verb I.
Yeah. So intransitive. So transitive and intransitive.
Intransitive.
Okay. So which one do you want?
Well, so then I'm gonna look up. Go ahead. Go ahead, Charlie.
Probably the intransitive? Okay. So pursue as a verb intransitive is to go on, to proceed, to continue.
Right.
Because I have pursues, canadas.
So intransitive means that
Yeah.
it's the word without a direct object. Because you know when you're talking about a verb, usually a verb is showing action towards an object.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular one is intransitive. It's a verb, but it's saying to do something, but there's no object of the action.
Got it.
So the one that we probably want to talk about, since we're talking about following vain persons, is you probably want to look at transitive, because following is what we're doing to the object, which is the vain person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that one is to follow, to go or proceed after or in a like direction.
Okay.
The captain pursued the same course as former navigators have taken.
Right.
And then it says to take and proceed in without following another, or to follow with a view to overtake, to follow with haste, to chase, as to pursue a hare, to pursue an enemy, to seek, to use measures to obtain.
So just 1 second, I want to pull something out. So if you notice the way that they talk about pursue, some of those same words are the words that are keyed into what the Hebrew definition of the word was, which lets you know that whoever was dealing with the 1828, they were using the Bible. It's keyed directly into. That's why when you have a lot of the examples for 1828, they're scriptural.
Yeah.
Scriptural examples that are already in there. So it just gives you that alignment.
Right.
Go ahead.
Let's see. To use measures to obtain, as to pursue a remedy at law. To prosecute, to continue. A stream proceeds from a lake and pursues a southerly course to the ocean. To follow as an example, to imitate.
So there we go. So follow as an example or imitate.
Right.
Okay? That's so. But those who follow as an example or imitate, vain people, are going to be in poverty. Okay. What do we have here for your word?
Pursue.
Yeah.
Follow, trail, hunt down, go after. Chase.
So these people, they don't just follow after them, but they actually hunt these people down.
Coming after you.
Yeah.
That's why I said when we were in Jeremiah 29:11, when he says to seek me wholeheartedly.
Right.
Right.
Most people don't know what that really means.
Come on.
You got to be on a
You're
mission.
not pursuing. I mean, we focus on wholeheartedly, but the word seek.
Right.
That's the word. That's the key
How are
word.
you seeking?
Right.
That's just like if you can look at it, for example. Let's say everybody's lost something in their house before, right? And depending on how important that thing is, depends on how much of the house you're going to tear up looking for it.
Right.
Well, we're talking about our culture. We're talking about our salvation. We're talking about history, names, land, right? So guess what? How important is that for you to go look for?
Good question.
Oh,
Where's the bathroom again?
sure. Do you want? Can you point out to where the bathroom is for her?
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Here it is for you. Cool. Right on the camera,
And the outlet that's up there, can I put my phone into?
yeah. Sure.
Thank
Sure
you.
you can.
When the woman lost a coin in her house, so
Yeah.
she swept the house,
Yeah.
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 tore the floorboards up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what has to happen. Okay, so keep going.
For pursuit.
Okay, yeah, pursue.
Pursue.
Aspire, desire.
So they aspire
Mm-hmm.
to be like other people. Go ahead.
Seek. Intent.
There's your
intent
word.
on, quest. Contend for.
Right. They'll
Aim.
fight for
Yep.
that. Okay.
Struggle. Strive.
Mm-hmm.
Try one's best for. To woo.
Yeah, they even go to that too. They start wooing. They like to be wooing.
To address, pay attention, to proceed, to maintain, to follow up, to prolong, to practice, to engage,
Mm-hmm.
to carry, to undertake, to wage, to conduct, to exercise, to
Right.
apply oneself.
Right. So this is all that they do for vain people. Not to till land, which they should be doing,
Right.
but they would rather spend their time dealing with vain people. Give us vain.
Vain.
We may need some. Well, I may need you to do double duty. You might need to do dictionary, and you may need to do that too. So, go ahead. Vain.
Vain. 7386 in the Strong's. Rek. And that's the word empty.
Empty. So somebody who is vain is somebody who's empty. Keep going.
Worthless.
Empty and worthless. So,
That's it.
how do you determine your worth in the Bible? By what? Your faith or your works?
Uh-huh.
Is it, which one is it?
You said, how do you
How
tell
do you,
your
what?
faith?
How do you determine your value? Is it based on your faith or is it based on your works?
Based on
Oh,
faith.
wait, based on works. Both. I would say both, but the works.
Well, faith is, you can have faith and you can't necessarily see it.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it in what the person does because the faith is going to determine what kind of work you do.
Mm-hmm.
Faith without works is
Dead.
I would say,
Right.
without the faith, I mean, well, it would be worse.
But yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking it would be
I was
worse.
looking in terms of what's going to lead me to seek the work that
Oh, okay,
if
that's
I
good.
don't have faith in what I'm doing or who I'm dealing
Right.
with,
That's true.
then I'm just using my own personal strength,
Right.
and I'll
Absolutely.
burn out.
Absolutely.
But
Right.
but I'm talking about faith. If my faith is in Him, and I find it in the Word, don't let me find it in the Word, and I'm gonna go
Right.
after it.
Yeah.
Even when I get low, I'm still seeking it.
Right. But then at the same time, I could look. But see, if I don't know your faith, I can look at your work
Yep.
Yeah.
and determine what you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
I can determine what you look after, what you run after,
Yep.
what you seek to imitate and be
Yep.
an example of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's going to determine to me what your faith is.
Right.
Without you ever having the opportunity to tell me.
Yep.
So, empty. So, empty and worthless. Did you look up empty in the dictionary? Empty? Oh, you went to worthless, huh?
Empty or worthless. Yeah.
Yeah, I went that in.
Okay.
Empty.
Yeah, so let's do, can we do empty first?
Mm-hmm.
In the dictionary?
Oh.
Yeah, can we do empty? Yeah, let's do empty first. Stick your finger there and flip
Yeah.
right on over, take that journey,
Yeah.
and then flip right on back. This is an orchestra.
Yeah.
We're doing orchestra right now. We're playing music right now.
Empty.
Yes.
Okay.
Empty.
To be idle.
To be idle. That's what empty means. So, if you are listening to somebody who, instead of working, is being idle, right?
Oh, wow.
Right?
Good connection.
Then the chances are you're going to be in poverty. Most likely you are in poverty. Keep going. Empty. What else?
To be vacant.
Vacant. Go ahead.
To evacuate.
Right. To evacuate. You got to get up out of there.
Yeah.
Containing nothing.
Containing nothing.
Or nothing but air.
Nothing but air. That's why they talk so long. Right? That's why they can talk for like 20 hours.
Man.
Because that's all they got is air. And then as soon as you leave, you be like, well, where's everything else?
Right.
There ain't nothing there.
Man.
So evacuated, unfurnished, void,
Unfurnished.
unsubstantial,
Unsubstantial.
unsatisfactory,
Unsatisfactory.
hungry.
Hungry. So they hungry, so that's why they trying to eat off you. Right? They empty and hungry, that's why they like, gimme, 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 gimme. Gimme, 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 gimme. They can't give you nothing.
Man.
And what they do give you is empty.
Man.
The words they give you, empty. What else? What we got?
Unfruitful.
Unfruitful. Wait a minute. So you telling me they can't give you no fruit? I got fruit for people. Straight up. Dude, I got lemons right now and some greens.
Wanting.
Wanting.
Without effect.
Without effect. That's deep. So we had to I'll take that from you. We had to grab the dictionary, so we're looking up empty, which is the word for vain, and what empty means is full of air. Full of air, like hot air. So what else do we have? Anything else for empty?
That's pretty much
Okay.
redundant.
So go to worthless, read empty in the synonym finder. And this we come in and we on the home stretch here. Empty. Empty.
Emptiness.
They're not empty?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
It should be there.
Void, vacant,
Vacant, right.
without contents,
Without content.
unfilled, hollow,
Hollow.
unfurnished.
So like, you remember them people that wear the big old chains?
Mhm.
Big old gold chains? You be like, man, that's a big old chain. You go lift it up and you
Yes,
feel like you
light
can
as
throw
a
it up
feather.
into the sky. It's hollow. It looks like it's got something to it, but it ain't nothing there.
Oh, man. Right.
And usually most people don't find that out until your money gone.
Man.
Then you start looking around, you be like, wait a minute, I didn't traded money that I can touch and hand and hold for something that doesn't have anything to it. I'm looking around, I can't find nothing, I can't take it nowhere, nobody listen to it. Go ahead, keep going.
Bare, barren, blank.
Barren. So not just that, you may, sometimes you grow stuff, it doesn't come up, but you're talking about a state of barrenness. Even if you put the seed in there, it wouldn't even
Produce.
germinate.
Yes.
There's people like this.
Mm-hmm.
This scripture is a warning. It's for you to be able to put in your head so that you can determine when people start talking to you and they want to, because they're going to start talking to you because they want you to do something. Even me, I have an agenda. I want you all to do something.
This is why
Sure, go ahead.
Yeshua said, "Don't cast your pearls to the swine,"
Right.
because they don't see anything as valuable. The people who are full of nothing can't see anything valuable.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, what I found,
Don't even talk to them.
to go along with that, I found that, because in starting businesses and have failed in business and things like that, it's the less successful a person is, the more likely that they are not to listen. Isn't that funny?
Man.
And the more successful a person is, the more open-minded they are, the more Like they're willing to sit down and talk and be like,
Yeah.
okay, well, let's talk about this and talk about that.
Yeah.
So the people that are narrow-minded and closed off, they're usually the people that don't have anything anyway. That's right.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Deserted, unburdened, unloaded, unfilled, unfed, hungry.
Right. So this is what happens. So these people are hungry. Right. That's why they're always asking you for your stuff. Because they don't have nothing.
Right?
Figure out how you did what you did and what you got, how
Yeah.
you got it.
Yeah, that's like a thief, right?
Yeah.
Your thief, they don't produce anything. They just watch you. And they, ooh, that person gone. Let's go in their house and get what they got. We don't want to get our own stuff. We don't want to work and do our own business.
Right.
So that we can
Mm.
come to those people of the faith without having to eat from them.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight up.
So, we got a lot of people who are really just pastors and preachers, Christian preachers in disguise.
Hmm.
Yeah,
straight
we
up.
do. Keep going.
Devoid of, destitute of, lacking, wanting, defret of, without, out of, short of, deficient, deprived,
Deprived. Right.
valueless, unimportant, worthless, unreal, delusive.
Delusive, like delusion, right?
Mhm.
like they telling you lies.
Right. Without substance, unsatisfactory, blank, clear, foolish,
Right.
empty-headed, thoughtless, unthinking, unreasoning, brainless, dull.
So
vicious.
unreasoning. So they're not willing to reason.
Mm.
So when you find they're not willing to reason and sit down and reason about things, they think they know everything, and then that's it. Instead of just actually examining and then saying, okay, maybe we'll find out new information, maybe we won't, but at least we can reason.
That's why we can't, like you just said, and I was reiterating, man. You can't plant seed with everybody. When
No.
when we come over into this knowledge,
No.
we just want to go run and tell everybody. Nah.
No.
the
The best thing to do,
It's just living.
and I've counseled people to say is that don't say anything to anybody, because everybody you're gonna tell already know you, and they know you don't be serious about stuff.
Right.
So prove through your actions
right.
first,
Hallelujah.
and then once you prove through your actions, they're gonna come to you and start asking you questions.
Yep.
Like, I remember you used to be like this. You ain't like that no more. What happened? And then you have an audience
Yep.
that you can then effectively witness to.
Yep.
Because if you go trying to force stuff on you, they're like, wait a minute,
That
what
breeds
you now?
contentment, though.
You gonna say that again?
That breeds contentment, though.
What does?
Breeds
I would
continue.
never go back and teach somebody that, or talk to somebody about some business or anything like that. That if I'm approaching you at first, and you're passing by based on the fact that you think I'm not going to really go out and do it, but then you see me go out and do it, so now you want to come run behind me. Doors closed already.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
absolutely, absolutely.
That's,
Oh yeah. Those are a different type of people. That's not the remnant.
Mm. Yeah.
That's not the remnant. The remnant, as soon as you say, hey, we gotta pick up our tools and go to work,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, I know, because I know it's gonna take work to do it, and they ready to do it. People that want to just be like, hey, and then all of a sudden they see you do something, and then all of a sudden, then they want to come and do it. It's like, you could be out over here, but we can't put nothing mission critical in your hand, because you only based on appearance.
Right.
Anytime things get hard or times get bad, you're gonna stop.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother, for bringing that out. Okay, so you went to Worthless, right? Did you go to Worthless?
Oh, I was still on vain.
Oh yeah,
But anyway, it just says empty. It was everything.
everything we said. So then let's
I
look.
did like when it said vainglory,
Don't
which is exclusive vanity,
right.
excited about one's own performance.
Mm.
Talk about your president.
my president. I like my president, man.
So you said worthless?
You got Worthless was in there, and then you can look up Worthless in the synonym Bible, and then after that we'll do prayer, and then I'll ask for first if people have questions, comments, and then I'll answer the question about changing my name.
Worthless.
Worthless.
Having no value. Having no value of character.
No value of character.
Or no virtue.
Well, yeah, because they're empty.
Having no dignity or excellence.
So you're not talking. So now we're talking a weird, a different thing. You're talking about excellence now. So we have to think about excellence. Remember Daniel 1:20, 10 times better. So we have to think about excellence as a daily routine. Excellence.
Yeah.
See, that's what's going to set us apart from everyone else. Is that we're going to be working within a field of excellence. It's not going to happen overnight because we're taught that it's okay to not be the best. In fact, we're taught that if you try to be the best, something's wrong with you. But we find that Daniel, inside of captivity, along with his guys that were with him, and if you read Daniel 1, it's more than just wisdom, but it's also in eating habits, because there's that talks about the eating habits too. They were better than them. That's why the king called them and not the same people that were there. Not that we should challenge each other and try to outdo each other, but remember, the lions in the pride, they're not trying to outdo each other, but when it comes to getting ready to go hunt, they gotta eat. So they're like, whatever it is we going after, we gonna be better than it, right? So we can take it down.
Well, Daniel was all about the Messiah.
Yes, sir.
I mean, his goal, he wasn't gonna do nothing else.
Yeah.
They would have to take him out before he would do their plan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He wasn't gonna do it. He did not mind going into the lion's den for that. Go ahead. Right. Are you still on worthless, or did you?
Oh, that was it.
That was it for worthless. Okay, what do you have for worthless?
Valueless, inessential, unimportant.
So they did. So they're not dealing with the essential things. They're not dealing with the important things. Yeah. They're dealing with things that can make a big, cause confusion, cause division. But they're not dealing with the essential things like tilling land.
Meritless, idle.
Once again, and they don't work. So they don't work. Right. So they like, I don't have a job. I just gotta just do this, and you need to pay me.
A few more here. Bootless.
Well, you can't be working if you don't got no boots. You can't be tilling no land without no boots. I got 2-3 pairs of boots. I got rain boots. I got steel toe boots.
And work boots for a reason.
Yeah, if you're gonna do some work, you need boots. Go ahead.
All right.
Wait a minute. So here's what you gotta do. Well, let's see. So next time, try to be like, hey, I gotta see if you got boots on.
Right.
So you're doing some work.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can see another thing you can do. You can always know what kind of work a person do by shaking their hand. That's one of the reasons why you shake a person's hand, so you can know if the person you following after has smooth hands, then there's something they're not doing, and that's called work. Right? You know when somebody's idle because you can shake their hand. Yeah, and they gonna have they're not gonna have a couple calluses right here because they ain't been gripping nothing.
Right.
Except for your money. Go ahead.
Right. Ineffective. Fruitless. Unproductive. Barren. Impotent.
Impotent.
Wow.
So they can't get it up.
You're right.
It's time to get out there and get to work. They're like, I can't get it, can't do it.
Man.
Dude, I need to stay inside.
To no
put out some
purpose. To no avail. Depraved. No good. Despicable.
Right. All right. So what we see here, is that we've now designed, it doesn't say anybody's name, but then there's something else that we can look at, though. I'm going to take you into Isaiah real quick, and then we'll come back and look at poverty. Isaiah chapter 56, verse 10. We probably know one. You might know this one when you get to it. Isaiah chapter 56, verse 10. Isaiah chapter 56, verse 10. Isaiah chapter 56, verse 10.
I thought you was going to read. You want me to read it?
Oh, I can. Anybody's there that can read it. Shanti, somebody can read. Doesn't matter. I'll read it.
56.
I'll read it. Okay, I got it.
I'm reading out of the ISR.
Okay.
His watchmen are blind, all of them. They have not known. All of them are dumb dogs, unable to bark, dreaming, lying down, loving to slumber.
Go to verse 11.
And the dogs have a strong appetite. They never have enough. And they are shepherds. They have not known understanding. All of them look to their own way, everyone for his own gain, from his own end. Let us, you want me to come?
Yeah, keep going for 12.
Come, let me bring wine and fill ourselves with strong drink. And tomorrow shall be as today, even much greater.
So what are they not doing?
Working.
They not working. Right? So these are the same people. So as you leave from out of this class, then you will be able to protect yourself. Right? From vain people.
Right.
You know, the same people that you know, they can tell you everything not to do about something that they've never done.
Man.
We do that in our men ministry, because that's the difference between a man and a male.
Right.
So that just describes a male.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what he does.
Oh,
Absolutely.
man.
That's all they do. All right. So now we're ready to move on into poverty. You look at poverty in the concordance. Let's look at poverty in this concordance here.
Now we have an understanding with that, the analogy of the dog.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Right. Right. Absolutely. 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 See, the scriptures are so deep that if you study them and you start to use them, it's gonna give you the information that you need.
Right.
It's gonna, not only will it give you the information, but will give you the directions. It'll give you the how-to of what to do, or it will paint a picture of you of a future desired state, and then it's your job to reverse engineer back how it got that way, and then that's the steps that you have to start taking as of now. You there?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna need to go somewhere. Okay, it says 7389 from the word resh, or rish, poverty. Have to go to 7326, rush. To be destitute, lack, needy, make self poor.
To lack, be destitute, to be needy. Okay. What else?
That was it.
Okay, so what do you think the Most High feels about poverty?
I mean,
Did you think that the Most High designed us or designed His law for His people that are supposed to be the representatives of Him and His ownership of the earth to be walking around in poverty? Now, of course, there's reasons why people get wealthy and people are in poverty. Usually has to do with, you know, the wisdom of your decisions that you make and your wanting to work and how, you know, consistent you are and if you're really willing to do the work that's necessary for you to accomplish. But do you think that that's a state that He would want us to be in? Because remember, the Most High never talked to anybody else. He only talked to the children of Israel. And the children of Israel were always His example to the nations.
Right.
So do you think that He would want us to be walking around as His children, considering that the ownership of the earth is His and we're His children, to have no part of it? And to be in poverty and lack of all things when we have all this abundance surrounding us? You know, you got fruit trees, you got, you know, most people walk across plants on a day-to-day basis that the people that were here before us, like the Miwoks, the native indigenous people, they were eating these things. They were. You can walk outside, dandelions, plantains. You know, you walk across them every day. It's there. You can never go poor and be in poverty if you know about nature. It's impossible.
And who gave it to you? Because like David said, Yahweh is my shepherd. I shall not want. I shall not lack.
Right.
I shall not be in need.
Right. Right.
Right?
Right. Go ahead. You got it for me? Did you?
No, I was just paraphrasing. But
okay.
I read everything from the concordance I needed to.
Answer your question, just a thought, because the word says Yeshua was made poverty for us.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say how does the Most High think about it, I think of it as poverty is something that He has to kill, as opposed to redeem.
Right.
Mm.
And then the poverty that He was in, He chose that though.
What?
Because it's not like there weren't people taking care of Him.
Right.
In fact, there were women taking care of Him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You guys know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in order to kill it, He had to become it.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
Take it to the grave.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, you have to make a vow of poverty. You have to take a vow of poverty. I mean, priests do it all the time, where you take a vow of poverty, where you make sure that you don't have anything coming in, and you don't, and you just live off of what people determine that is for you.
Right. Yep.
Absolutely. Okay. So, can you read back verse poverty?
73:26. Roosh. To be destitute.
Lack. Okay, so let's look up lack. Lack in the dictionary, and then lack in the synonym finder. You about to say something?
Yeah, well, the Messiah, his property was coming to earth in a human body. That was his property.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and even with us, I mean, that's why I said. Remember, we said the day of your death is better than the day of your birth, because you take that which is expansive and put it into this limited thing, and you got to try to figure out, how to use it.
because it also says He became sin.
Right.
So that's why I was saying poverty, sin is something that He had to kill.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead.
Lack.
Lack. Lack.
Empty.
Empty. Back to empty again. So it keeps stressing that you got to be watching to see if there's anything there.
Right.
Says, to decline. To be in want.
Right. To be in want.
Or, destitute.
Sure.
Yep.
Destitution, need, and failure.
Right.
And that's pretty much a single word.
Okay.
So to be destitute, not to have or possess anything.
Right. So then, I'm just gonna say something, and I don't want anybody to answer out loud. So by this, you can almost say that if you're not tilling land, then there's especially in the society that we live in, knowing all that goes into tilling land and having land ownership, then you're probably somewhere close to being in poverty. Now, who you're listening to, they are probably vain. Because if they weren't, then there would be certain things that they would be telling you to do.
Man. Good point.
Say that one more time.
I don't know if I can remember it. I might say a different thing. You know how when you get inspired, you say stuff. Sometimes I get inspired and then somebody say, "What'd you say?" And I don't even remember it. I'm like, I don't even know where it came from. Okay, let me think. So.
It makes sense. You said
yeah, but somebody
you listen to someone that's in vain. They're not telling us, basically how to come out of poverty. So we're in poverty, as because we're associated with people who are already operating in vain.
Right.
So then, how do you think that contrasts with the idea that the Most High said He's going to give us power to get wealth? And then if the people people are listening to are not just teaching how to get wealth, we're not going to turn this into prosperity preaching, but at the same time teaching them how the law says that you're supposed to take certain actions,
Right.
which, if taken, will then lead to a
Inside.
state of wealth, a state of abundance.
Mhm.
Then why are we still listening?
Right.
Well, it also has to do with, like you said, the Great Commission. Like, we are the seed.
Right,
Are we out planting seeds,
right,
you know, in people?
right. Go ahead, Sean.
Based on appearance.
That's the killer right there. For us, everything we love appearances.
Based on appearance, and I'm gonna tie it back into something that me and the sisters were talking about yesterday
Uh-oh.
about the fig tree.
Uh-oh.
And they asked, why did the Messiah curse the fig tree?
Uh-oh.
And I said, well, it was putting on a facade pretty much. It was giving the appearance. Because you see you might see a Bentley, a Benz, you might see fine suits, you might see you know, a nice house, you might
Right.
see a mansion,
Right.
but how those things were acquired
Right.
were probably doing something in emptiness,
Right.
right? So the thing is, you ask the question, why are people still listening to vain people or empty people? It's because these empty people appear
Right.
to have something righteous that you aim or strive to get.
Right.
And so when those vain people are spewing out at you,
Right.
you keep listening because you think you gotta get to what they got some way somehow.
Right.
And with the fig tree.
Right. Right.
And I could be off, but what I see is that fig tree had leaves on it. And you know, when something has leaves on it, you think it's there to produce. You think it's there to produce fruit. Now,
Right.
sometimes a fruit can give off the appearance like it's going to produce something, especially it could give off the appearance that it's going to produce something righteous.
Right.
But if it's not going to produce, and it's not going to produce anything righteous,
Right.
then it's empty. It's not beneficial to you. It might as well be.
Hewn and thrown in the fire.
That's it.
Right.
Go
Absolutely.
ahead.
For the fig tree this time of year, but it had leaves on it, it's supposed to have figs
Right.
in. It didn't have no figs.
Yeah.
There was supposed to have been a fig there.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, and we understand,
Right.
when you grow stuff, the purpose of the leaves are to protect the fruit.
Right.
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 So they don't burn, you know. And so,
Right.
so you pull the leaf back and there's no fruit.
Right.
You know, then the word says
I've been had.
it's worthless. Well,
Right.
worthless, so it's worthless
Mhm.
because it's not about the leaf, it's about the fruit.
Right. Absolutely. So, you know, like I said, I mean, I that was what I have for today. It's been a long time that we've been, you know, doing this. It seems like it hasn't been that long. Because every time we do something new, it's like we start over, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, we're really being able to get that. So once again, I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to share.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And just to share what I've come through. I mean, I've been at this for a little bit of time, so I do have a lot to share. But at the same time, I'm just thankful for me being able to do that and being able to show this idea for the people that are watching, where we're actually working together here. You got somebody on the concordance, you got somebody else on the synonym finder.
Right.
You know, nobody's pushing any particular, it better be this way, because we're all reasoning, because at the end of the day, we're trying to figure out how to do what? Get the power to what? Get the wealth, so that we can do what? Establish the covenant.
Mhm.
You're not going to be able to establish the covenant if
Right.
you don't have control over your time.
Man.
Because it'll be time for Passover and you can't get the day off.
Man.
Because they say you have to be there.
Yep.
Or it's time for Sabbath and you can't get or you have to work on it.
Yep.
And granted, when I used to work in the IT, I was on call. So there was times when I had to work on the Sabbath. But my whole time working there was to do two things. Get enough resources so I could get some land. And then get on that land so that I could then start to be productive and start to till that land and be satisfied with bread.
Mm.
That was my whole purpose of getting into the IT field, to be able to have the resources to be able to get the land.
Right.
And I know other people who have done the same thing. There's a brother in Atlanta. His name's Asiero. You may have seen him on Facebook somewhere, but he's got 20 acres in Atlanta, and he's out there killing it with the farms. You can find them. They call themselves the Geechee farmers.
The Geechee farmers under
Dean.
Nasi.
Yeah.
Nasi.
All those folks. And then that's in Atlanta. And there's another group of people that just purchased, I think it was 100 and some odd acres in somewhere. They're in New York, and they're building a community around agriculture because people are starting to understand that that's the foundation of our culture is agriculture. And when we think about that, that doesn't mean everybody has to be in the field working. Agriculture is a big field. You may not be the person that's actually tilling the land. You may be the one harvesting.
Right.
And you may not be the one harvesting. Maybe you got a bad back, but you can be the one helping the can.
Right.
This is some citrus marmalade here that we made. We harvested some citrus trees, and then we made a bunch of marmalade out of it. This is a marketable product. You know, these are products. And other than the time that it takes to produce them, these are things that we can use to what? Sell and make money. So that we can, and more so, not even really about the making money, that's part of it, but more so it's about employing our people.
Employing the people. Yep.
And getting the skills necessary so that should they decide to shut this thing down, because once the shutdown button is done, then all the things you thought were valuable will not be valuable anymore.
Right.
This won't be valuable
Right.
because it needs electricity
Right.
to charge. So if this is the only way that you can look up a word and search, then
You got problems.
you in a very dangerously
Why I tell you all the time I need paper.
right. You're in a situation. You're a very vulnerable situation. If that's the only thing that you're dependent on, if everything that you require to live needs electricity, then you're in a very vulnerable situation.
Better have some fun.
Like, look, I know there's not a fire if I have to.
Do you have a store, or do you have a place online?
We don't do too much online, but we do have this. This is that.
Okay.
This is that too. And of course, we can't do it today. But when the sun goes down or tomorrow, I'll make sure that everybody leaves out of here with at least a business card. Ooh, excuse me. And we can, you can get in contact with us, and we have the soaps and we have the things for you if you need those things. With that, let's go ahead and turn to the east again. Oh, go ahead. Oh no, you know what? There's a question I need to answer. Go ahead.
About changing your name.
So changing my name. Back when I did it, there was this thing, the name change paperwork was like 3 pages long, and it's basically what's your old name, what's the new name, and then why, basically what it comes down to. When I put down a few scriptures, like, when you get a new name that the Most High is going to name, and then there's a person that's surnamed themselves by Israel. I don't know if you remember those scriptures in Isaiah, but I put those scriptures down. Then what you have to do is after that, you then have to go and post it. So you have to... So
where do you get the paperwork from?
You can just go to Family Law Court. You can even download it. So if you, depending on what area you're in, Sacramento, you probably go to like saclaw.org or something like that. And then all you have to do is search for name change paperwork. You put it on there. And then, you have to take a certain amount of copies down there. But it's got all the instructions on there.
Right.
When I did it, I did a paralegal. They charged me $50. But you can do this without using that. You can go down there and file the paperwork yourself. And then, of course, you can file for a fee waiver, so you don't have to pay the court fees. I didn't at the time. I wasn't as solvent as I am now, so I qualified for a fee waiver.
All right.
So and that's what I did. So it's not that hard to do. But then again, it's important to understand that if you are going to change your name, that in addition to just making the change of your name, you need to study your name.
Yeah. Because
just like we study these words, your name is a Hebrew word. And so I can personally tell you that I have probably a stack of papers this wide or this tall on just my name alone. Because, each Hebrew letter is not just a letter.
Right.
It's a number.
Yep.
It's a chemical element.
Man.
It's a part of the DNA strand. It's a musical tone. In some cases, it could be a constellation. So when you really start to study your name in terms of what it is for you, because what is a name? A name is it's your essence.
Yes.
It's your essence. It's who you are. That's what it talks about so much, of having a good name is so important.
Yep.
I think it costs, we need to get some land. You're right about that.
Right.
I think it costs $400 now. Wow, that's a lot of money. And granted, this was in 1996, so this was pre 9/11. So, you know, it was easy to kind of do it then. Now they might do some other stuff. Of course, you'll need your birth certificate and all that type of stuff. So yeah, so it's not really that hard to do, but you do have to study your name because you want to become that.
Yeah.
That's what you have to become, and it has a very definite thing. So when you're looking for the name that you want to take on, then you have to think about how it speaks to you. Like for example, Chanowk. The root word for Chanowk is Chanowk, and Chanowk means to train. You know, train up your child in the way he should go. The word train means to be trained. That means to be dedicated. It means to be loyal. You know, I've also looked into it. It also means to be an initiator or to be initiated. So, you know, there's just all those things. And, you know, like for me, when I came into the truth, I came into the truth via Hebrews that were affiliated with Yahweh ben Yahweh, if you are familiar with him or who he is. But one of the things that I thought that was very, very important is that Yahweh ben Yahweh required his followers to write a book on their name. You're required to do that. Write a book. So you would, whenever you chose your name, you would have to go and then write a book on that. You know, and what it will become is it will become an infinite study, but at the same time, it will also become a blueprint.
Yeah.
So everything that I'm doing, even the IT, that's in Chanowk. As I started to break it down and look into it and what have you. So it's very, very important that if you are going to change your name, then you study it so that you can apply it and it can be a part of you. Even just the last name, Israel. Study it and study it from the idea of this is what I'm going to become.
Yep.
You know, I may not be there today, but it's that future state that you're striving for. And, you know, you may have to go and learn some new skills in order to come into your name. That's okay, because that's why it's there, to give you that direction and that blueprint so that you can then, you know, form one of the bones of this, you know, great army that we have to build. Because the Most High is a man of war.
Yep.
And you know, one day we're going to have to do a class on that, but that one can't be televised. You know, that's a different type of that class can't be televised. You know, remember, the revolution will not be televised.
Right.
We just having we just talking today. The revolution is not going to be televised. That class won't be on YouTube.
Yep.
All right, so let's go ahead and turn to the east again, and we'll go ahead and end out with prayer. Tefillah, Abenu Shabbat Shemayim, Yikar De Sameikar, Tavo Malkuteikar, Yi'aze Brazonkar, Kabash Shemayim Kain Ba'aretz, and Lekum Kukenu, Tain Lanu Hayom, Ushlak Lanu, Awakatienu, Kimoshaso King, Gamanaknu, Lakotiem Lanu, Beal Tefienu, Lade Nisayom, Kim Kalsenu, Minhara, Kilaka, Amalaha, Beha Gibara, Beatiferet, Leolamain, Sila. Amen. You may be seated. All right, so if there are any other questions or anything that anyone wants to bring out, this is more than the best time to do it. And thank you everybody for paying attention and being here with us. I really enjoyed being able to share. You know, if I didn't, you know, run everybody away, maybe they'll have me back sometime and I'll get a chance to talk to you all again. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you, Chanowk.
Yeah, you want.